Chapter 348. Reeks, blood-colored barrier. Everyone was shocked. Harold had shrunk the blood-colored barrier and threw it on himself. What was even more shocking was that the blood-colored barrier had turned into an invincible barrier that blocked all the attacks. At this moment, Harold flipped his long sword and slashed at Wang Yu from left to right. F***ck. Wang Yu cried out in shock as if he had stabbed a rock. He leaped backward and dodged Harold's long sword before jumping into the middle of the crowd. This shameless old man, after putting a ward on himself, not only could he move, but he could also slash people. Luckily, Harold, who had put on the ward, had lost the effect of the Sword of Judgment. Otherwise, even Wang Yu might not have been able to dodge this sudden attack. Harold, who had cast the invincible barrier, was unmoved by force or persuasion. The only opening was the opening of the blood-colored barrier above his head. However, the diameter of the miniaturized blood-colored barrier was too small. Even if Yang Na used a longbow, she would not be able to throw an arrow into such a small space, let alone Yang Na's crossbow. At this moment, the only thing that could attack Harold was Mingdu's thunder and lightning spell. The thunder and lightning spell was not a directional skill. Harold relied on his fast speed and random movements. No matter how good Mingdu's prediction was, he could not guarantee that he would be able to hit him. Can this guy be any more shameless? Wang Yu cried out while wiping his cold sweat. The others in the group did not say anything, but Harold had used the fact to tell Wang Yu that he could. Harold took a step back and dodged Mingdu's attack range. He then kept the judgment sword in his hand and raised both his hands up. The red prayer beads were activated once again, and countless red energy balls appeared above everyone. Yu won. Harold clasped his hands together, and the energy balls rained down like rain, forcing everyone to retreat a few meters. Harold did not give in. As he walked forward, he continued to cast spells with both hands, forcing everyone to retreat. Brother Chun, where's that barrier-breaking spell you used just now? Hit him. To place one's pride, anxiously shouted. Spring Xiang anxiously said, Fight my ass. My skill's casting speed is slow, and my speed is slow as well. He could even dodge Mingdu's lightning spell, so how could he not dodge mine? Chun Xiang then said, If only we could make the boss stop. Hearing this, everyone said, Cut it open, what a joke. Only tanks could stop a boss from moving. Not to mention the fact that Harold's energy balls were raining down on him. Tanks couldn't even get close to him. Even if they could get close to Harold, Harold had the Crimson Barrier around him. He wasn't afraid of being controlled at all. Who could do anything to him? Mingdu scolded. Bah, how can you stop talking nonsense? Do you think we need to strike him to death with lightning? If he didn't have a blood-colored barrier, I would have hacked him to death one slash at a time. The others also began to brag. At this time, Wang Yu suddenly asked Chun Xiang, Can't we just stop him from moving? That's right. Chun Xiang nodded and said, Can Brother Iron Ox stop him? Let's try. Although Wang Yu was confident, he didn't dare to guarantee anything. After all, the system was too shameless. Who knew what other despicable tricks this old fellow had up his sleeve? With that, Wang Yu charged toward Harold. When Harold saw Wang Yu charging over, he waved his hands, and all the energy balls smashed toward Wang Yu. You too. F***ck, what is Bull God doing? Little one asked, dumbfounded. Wuji said he's showing off his skills. At this time, Wang Yu stepped into the 7-star position and dodged left and right. It was as if he was using a cloning technique. He didn't stop and quickly charged past the energy ball area, arriving in front of Harold. After Harold was closed in, he immediately took out the judgment sword to deal with the enemy. He held the sword with both hands and slashed at Wang Yu's head. Wang Yu didn't panic. He waved his right hand and flipped out a long sword. He swung it in an arc and stuck it to Harold's judgment sword, weakening its power. Then he took out the short sword with his left hand and swung it lightly, sending the judgment sword to Harold's feet. The attack power of the judgment sword was instantly reduced to nothingness. Harold's first attack was ineffective and almost pierced through his own foot. He was immediately enraged and roared. He held the sword hilt with both hands and slashed horizontally. Wang Yu half-squatted and grabbed the long sword with his right hand. He used the handguard to block Harold's sword and pressed it downwards. At the same time, He raised a short sword in his left hand slightly. Harold's judgment sword suddenly deviated from its original horizontal slash to an upward slash. As Harold used too much strength, he almost cut his own head. After almost cutting himself twice in a row, Harold was completely enraged. He simply stood where he was and swung his greatsword at Wang Yu. However, the two swords in Wang Yu's hands only defended and didn't attack. He could easily block Harold's attacks every time. No matter how high Harold's level was, it was only because he was strengthened by the average level of the players who entered the dungeon. After all, he was only a level 25 boss. His martial arts and magic were very limited. His true strength was far from a real level 50 boss. Therefore, even though Harold had put a blood-colored barrier on himself and his attacks were ineffective, Wang Yu still had a way to hold him back. "I won't hit you. I'll let you hit me." UU3. The sword technique that Wang Yu was using was called Lingering Sword. It was a defensive two-handed sword technique. Its main combat method was to look for flaws in a fight and launch surprise attacks. This sword technique had a total of 2 styles. The first style was for defense and mainly used to block attacks. The second style was for offense and focused on surprise attacks. In short, it was a very difficult technique to deal with. Wang Yu had already mastered the essence of this sword technique when he was in his teens. Now that he was only using one style, it was naturally very easy for him to deal with it. What skill is this? Seeing Harold being held back by Wang Yu, the people from Blood Alliance and Base Battle Team were completely petrified. They were facing a boss. Although this boss seemed to be more like a mage, there was still a level difference of 25. Why was there no damage at all from the slashes? This isn't a skill. Bao San, who was proficient in sword techniques, explained. Then what is it? It's a sword technique, it's kung fu. Bao San's tone was filled with endless respect and yearning. Once upon a time, Bao San also dreamed of becoming kung fu expert. Therefore, he worked hard to learn sword techniques. However, his talent and conditions were limited, so he could only learn half the skill. Now that he saw Wang Yu's exquisite sword technique, Bao San had the urge to kneel down and worship him as his master. Kung Fu. Everyone was dumbfounded. You must be joking. Is there really such a thing in this world? Bao San was speechless. He wiped away his sweat and said, "Of course, you can also think of it as a control." "Oh, I understand." Blood Great Wall and the others understood. They thought to themselves, if it's a control, then it's a control. Xuanzhen's people are indeed all abnormal. It seemed that for these gaming otakus, they wouldn't understand things that were too profound, so they had to translate it into a language that they could understand. Chapter 349. Reeks. It did not matter if it was kung fu or mechanical skill. In any case, Wang Yu swung his 2 swords and blocked Harold's path. Chun Xiang, who was not far away, once again cast Holy Word. The white ball of light slowly flew to Wang Yu's back. Wang Yu turned around and appeared behind Harold. Harold followed suit and turned around. Then, he was struck in the back by the Holy Word technique, and the blood-colored barrier immediately shattered. Focus fire. After Harold's blood barrier shattered, Wuji immediately gave the order to focus fire. Yinlao Air and Great Wall rushed to the left and right, squeezing Harold in the middle. Wang Yu switched his swords to gloves and pulled Harold into his arms. Harold was still a mage-type boss. His close combat skills were not very high. After being cut in by Wang Yu, a master of hand-to-hand combat, he basically lost the ability to fight back. Wang Yu first used 3 consecutive knee strikes to grab Harold. Then, he used a side kick to send Harold flying. Finally, Wang Yu bent down and grabbed Harold's ankle with his right hand. He pulled Harold's legs apart and used a thunder stomp on Harold's crotch. Harold's blood-curdling screams could be heard from the electric light, shocking everyone. Great Wall and the others had played the game for many years, but they had never seen anyone trample on a boss like this. This was truly an eye-opener. With Wang Yu and the 2 shield-bearers controlling Harold, the damage output of the others was unstoppable. Even Wuji was afraid of them. Harold's HP rapidly decreased. In just 5 to 6 minutes, it had dropped to 30%. Damn it! You people with no faith should see the greatness of God. Harold shouted. His body flashed with a golden light, causing Wang Yu and the others to retreat to the side. Harold's eyes then turned blood red. The judgment sword and prayer beads in his hands merged into one, turning into a staff. With a wave of the staff, monsters appeared in front of Harold one after another. Sacrificer HP, 10,000 UU 1 HP, 10,000 skill. Virus self-destruction. These sacrificers didn't have much health left, but they were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they had reached Wang Yu's group. No matter how good Wang Yu's kung fu was, he still belonged to the technical class. This kind of fearless human bomb was what the technical class was most afraid of. After all, no matter how high and fast Wang Yu could jump, he would still have a headache when he encountered something that clung to his thigh and refused to let go. Fortunately, Wang Yu had quick reflexes. He reached out and grabbed the head of the sacrificer who was rushing at the front and threw it back. Then, he quickly jumped back and opened up the distance between him and the sacrificer. Yin Lao Air activated roll and rolled backwards, dodging a wave of attacks. Following which, he activated charge and ran away. However, the Great Wall wasn't as lucky. Its reaction speed was slower than Yin Lao Air's, and it didn't have an evade skill. As a result, the sacrificer rammed into it. Bang! The sacrificer exploded into pieces. Fortunately, the game didn't allow for gory scenes. Otherwise, the sky full of minced meat would disgust everyone to death. Yeah, your attack isn't that high. The Great Wall thought that it was going to die from the explosion, but it discovered that its health had dropped by more than 100. 100 health was nothing to a tank like him with close to 5,000 health. However, the number of sacrificers behind it was still increasing. With each sacrificer having more than 100 health, the Great Wall could be blown to pieces in minutes. When the Great Wall thought of this, it turned around and tried to run away. However, it discovered that it was powerless. When it looked down at its status, it immediately cursed F***CK me. The sacrificer's skill was called virus self-destruction. The virus was the most important, and self-destruction was only secondary. At this moment, the Great Wall's body suddenly had a virus status. Virus. All attributes reduced by 50. Contagious. Range 500. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. My Great Wall, get lost. Don't come over. The Great Wall wanted to cry. If I don't go over, I'll be blown to death. Everyone shouted. If you don't come over, you might get blown to death. If you dare come over, we'll kill you right now. F***CK, that's so disloyal. The Great Wall turned around again, took out a precious potion, and poured it into its mouth. Then it once again faced the sacrificers. At this moment, Chun Xiang suddenly shouted, Great Wall, move back. Although the Great Wall did not know what Chun Xiang wanted to do, it was still willing to listen to other people's opinions at times like this. Hence, it hurriedly took 2 steps back. At the same time, there was a flash of light. 6 tall and mighty demons stood in front of the Great Wall, blocking the sacrificers that continued to rush over. F***CK, what's that? Everyone was shocked when they saw the creatures that Chun Xiang had summoned. Demons, Chun Xiang calmly replied. What kind of food does your demon eat? Mingdu cried out in surprise. Quan Zhen and the others had seen the demons that Chun Xiang had summoned in the past. They were thin and short, no different from gnomes. However, the demon that he summoned this time was almost as big as Wang Yu. Chun Xiang waved the Book of Sealing in his hand and said, Look closely, this is a level 25 demon. The Book of Sealing had a summoning space. In the past, the demons that Chun Xiang had summoned would disappear after a few levels. With the Book of Sealing, the demons could be summoned back into the summoning space, and their levels would also be preserved. Although the level 25 demon's attack method was still the simplest energy attack, its HP had increased to around 10,000. It was definitely the sturdiest meat shield. Moreover, as they were both poison-type creatures, the demon was actually immune to the sacrificer's self-destruction virus. When the sacrificers collided with the demon, it did not cause much of an effect. UU3. With this, the Great Wall's life was saved. After blocking the sacrificers, Chun Xiang threw a ball of green light at the Great Wall. The light covered the Great Wall's head for less than 2 seconds, and the virus status on the Great Wall disappeared. Great Sage skill, Dispel. Dispel. Dispel all abnormal statuses on the target player. As the only hidden class in the Priest class, the Great Sage was definitely the #1 support class in the world. Apart from his skills that Chun Xiang had learned when he was a warlock, almost all of his other skills were support. Although it killed his damage output, each of his skills was quite powerful. There is a limit to the length of the 6 demons' defense line. As Herald's sacrificers increased, the 6 demons gradually became unable to hold on. At this time, Wuji commanded, "Brother Chun, raise the barrier. Old Li, prepare your spells. Then, Old Fish and Dao Shui will go stealthily to restrain Herald. Old Cow, you and Little Chick will interrupt the casting. What about us?" The others saw that Wuji had only assigned tasks to Wang Yu and the others, so they could not help but ask Wuji, "Attack Herald with everything you have." Wuji said. Little One frowned and said, "There are so many monsters blocking the front. How are we going to deal damage?" Among all the classes in Reincarnation, the only skill that could be cast from afar was lightning. Normal players' skills could not hit Herald through the sacrificers in front of them. Wuji smiled and said, "It's fine, there won't be any later." Chapter 350. Reeks, does the system have such a rule? Wuji asked curiously. Kuno, Blood Great Wall, shook its head. We've done so many dungeons. Isn't it always like this? Hee. The Chuanjin players all laughed and looked at Blood Great Wall like they were looking at an idiot. No wonder, even though he was an expert from a big guild like Blood Alliance, he wasn't doing very well. Even when he was playing a game, he didn't follow the rules. What kind of future could he have? If you talk to the system about the rules, you'll lose. Wuji laughed. What do you mean? Not only did Blood Great Wall not understand, even Little One was confused by Wuji's words. Before Wuji could reply, an arrow suddenly shot out of nowhere and hit the priest's blood-green sack in the head. The sack didn't even have time to groan before it turned into a white light. D*M, the boss is nearby, and it's an elite boss. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but shout. A normal boss would target the first person that stepped into its aggro area. An elite boss would target cloth armor classes like priests and mages that were easy to kill. When they first stepped into this area, it was Yin Lao, Air, and Blood Great Wall that were at the front. Naturally, the boss here couldn't be a normal boss. Where did the arrow come from? The Chuanjin players turned to ask Wang Yu. After the arrow killed a person, it would disappear along with the target. At this point, they couldn't determine the direction of the arrow and could only ask Wang Yu, who had a sensor. I'm not sure. Wang Yu shook his head. That boss isn't aiming at me. I can't sense it. Then Wuji, Mingdu, and Bombing need to be careful. The next one might be us. Chun Xiang reminded Wuji. There were 5 cloth-armored classes in total. Now that the blood-green sack was dead, there was an 80% chance that the boss would target the other 4. Got it. Before Chun Xiang could say anything, Wuji casually put a blood barrier on his head. Yu won. Mingdo, on the other hand, ran to Wang Yu's side. This fellow was also good at protecting himself, and he knew who was the safest by his side. Chun Xiang commanded the 6 imps to surround Bloody and himself. He then squatted on the ground. His appearance matched his disgusting nature. The boss clearly recognized the Crimson Barrier skill. Since Spring Soar and Crimson Explosion had been blocked, the second attack was fired at Radiant City. Old Li, be careful. Right at this moment, Wang Yu, who was beside Mingdo, sensed a dangerous aura. She shouted and pulled Mingdo to the side. Bright Doe had just been pulled away by Wang Yu when a crossbow shot at Bright Doe's feet. Bright Doe turned pale with fright. If he had been any slower, he would have been shot in the head by the boss. At this moment, everyone saw the arrows and figured out the boss's position. It was right above them. Shield warriors, raise your shields. Everyone, move closer to me. Wuji commanded. The Blood Great Wall and second brother Yin raised their shields, and Wuji hugged his head as he rolled under the shield. When everyone was close to Wuji, Wuji threw out the illusionary snake. After the little thing circled around everyone, a hexagram rose up and covered everyone. "What is this?" Little One asked curiously, as he had never seen an illusionary formation before. Wuji said, "It's an invisibility skill. The boss won't be able to see you." Wang Yu furrowed her brows and asked, "Isn't this something that can be seen through once you pass level 5? As long as he doesn't get within 5 meters, he won't be seen." Wuji replied, "Oh." Wang Yu nodded his head. At the same time, Wuji said in the Chuanjin channel, "I'm not sure if a boss that's too high of a level can see him from afar. Let's all hide under the shields." The experts from Chuanjin laughed. Hee, as expected of Wuji. I like him to betray his teammates at such a crucial moment. Wang Yu was speechless. It seemed like the boss on the tree didn't know any long-range skills. After 2 or 3 minutes, it didn't attack again. As time passed, the boss wasn't anxious yet, but the people below were getting anxious. Speaking of which, is the boss waiting for us to show up? To place one's pride asked impatiently. To place one's pride, he had the personality of a child and was the most impatient. Little One said, "A qualified survival hunter has the highest level of patience. If I don't go out, he'll probably keep wasting time." After hearing Little One's words, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. The boss was just a set of data. He didn't need to eat, drink, or buy some cards. He was bored to death every day and had plenty of time to kill. He might even treat killing players as a way to relieve his boredom. Who could afford to waste time with him? Everyone couldn't help but wonder if this was a malicious method of the game company. What should we do? Everyone turned their heads and asked Wuji. Wuji thought for a moment and said, "We can't just sit here and wait for death. We should take the initiative and attack." "What nonsense!" Everyone said in disdain. "One of us already died. We haven't even seen what the boss looks like. How can we take the initiative? The boss is up there. We have to think of a way to get him down." Wuji said, "Get him down." Everyone's gaze turned to Yang Na and Little One. The archer class had the longest range, so only these 2 people could bring the person down from the tree. Little One hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Don't look at me. I'm a survivor. I play with traps. I'm not good at shooting." TCH. Everyone snorted in disdain and looked at Yang Na. Yang Na raised her head and measured the distance between the ground and the tree. She then shook her head and said, "I can't reach it either." This tree was very tall, at least 30 meters. As a demon hunter with a hidden class, Yang Na's longest range skill, Eagle Soars in the Sky, was only 20 meters. Moreover, Yang Na didn't have a target and could only snipe blindly. Even if she could reach the range, the enemy was in the dark while they were in the light. It was hard to say who would be killed first. F***CK. Seeing that Yang Na couldn't do it, Wuji, who had a stomach full of schemes, started to bite his nails. Mingdu suggested a rotten idea. "Why don't we build a human ladder?" Bullsh**T. Everyone immediately rejected the idea. F***CK, stacking a human pyramid in the boss's range. Did they have to let the boss entertain them before they died? That was too undignified. However, Mingdu's words gave Baiming Yoyu, who didn't like to talk, a reminder. Baiming Yoyu asked Wang Yu, "Niu Ge, don't you know Kung Fu? Do you know Cloud Ladder?" Wang Yu was slightly stunned. "What's Cloud Ladder?" "It's a type of Qigong. You can use your left foot to step on your right foot and fly into the atmosphere." Baiming Yoyu overlapped her hands and gestured. Wang Yu's head was full of black lines. "Who did you learn this from?" Chapter 351. Reeks, does the system have such a rule? Wuji asked curiously. Kuno, Blood Great Wall, shook its head. "We've done so many dungeons. Isn't it always like this?" Hee. The Chuanjin players all laughed when they heard this. They looked at Blood Great Wall like they were looking at an idiot. No wonder, even though he was an expert from a big guild like Blood Alliance, he wasn't doing very well. Even when he was playing a game, he had to follow the rules. What kind of future could he have? "You'll lose if you talk to the system about the rules." Wuji laughed. "What do you mean?" Not only did Blood Great Wall not understand, Even Little One was confused by Wuji's words. Before Wuji could reply, an arrow suddenly flew out of nowhere and hit the priest's blood-green sack in the head. The sack didn't even have time to groan before it turned into a white light. D*M*N, the boss is nearby, and it's an elite boss. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but shout. A normal boss would target the first person that stepped into its aggro area. An elite boss would target cloth armor classes like priests and mages, who were easy to kill. When they first stepped into this area, it was Lao Air and Blood Great Wall who were at the front. Naturally, the boss here wasn't a normal boss. Where did the arrow come from? The Chuanjin players turned to ask Wang Yu. After the arrow killed a person, it would disappear along with the target. At this point, they couldn't determine the direction of the arrow, so they could only ask Wang Yu, who had a sensor. I'm not sure. Wang Yu shook his head. That boss isn't aiming at me. I can't sense it. Then Wuji, Mingdu, and Bombing need to be careful. The next one might be us. Chun Xiang reminded Wuji. There were 5 cloth armored classes in total. Now that the blood green sack was dead, there was an 80% chance that the boss would target the other 4. Got it. Before Chun Xiang could say anything, Wuji casually put a blood barrier on his head. Yu won. Mingdu, on the other hand, ran to Wang Yu's side. This guy was also good at protecting himself, and he knew who was the safest by his side. Chun Xiang commanded the 6 imps to surround Bloody and himself. He then squatted on the ground, looking like a pervert. The boss obviously recognized the Crimson Barrier skill. Soaring Spring and Crimson Explosion were blocked, so the second attack was shot towards Mingdu. Old Li, be careful. At this moment, Wang Yu, who was next to Mingdu, sensed danger. He shouted and pulled Mingdu to the side. As soon as Mingdu was pulled away by Wang Yu, a crossbow bolt landed at Mingdu's feet. Mingdu was shocked. If he had been any slower, he would have been shot in the head by the boss. At this moment, everyone saw the arrow and figured out the boss's position. It was right above them. Shield warriors, raise your shields. Everyone, move towards me. Wuji ordered. Bloody Wall and Lao Air raised their giant shields. Wuji hugged his head and rolled under the shield. When everyone was close to Wuji, Wuji threw out the illusionary snake. The little things circled around everyone, and a hexagram rose up, covering everyone. What's this? Little One asked curiously, as he had never seen an illusion before. Wuji said, It's an invisibility skill. The boss won't be able to see you. Wang Yu furrowed her brows and asked, Isn't this something that can be seen through once you pass level 5? As long as he doesn't get within 5 meters of us, he won't be seen. Wuji replied. Oh. Wang Yu nodded his head. At the same time, Wuji said in the Chuanjin channel, I'm not sure if a boss that's too high of a level will have long-range insight. Let's all hide under our shields. The experts from Chuanjin laughed. Hee, as expected of Wuji. I like that you betray your teammates at such a crucial moment. Wang Yu was speechless. It seemed like the boss on the tree didn't have long-range insight skills. After about 2 to 3 minutes, it didn't attack again. As time passed, the boss wasn't anxious yet, but the people below were getting anxious. Speaking of which, is the boss waiting for us to show up? To place one's pride asked impatiently. To place one's pride, he had the personality of a child and was the most impatient. Little One said, A qualified survival hunter will definitely have the best patience. If we don't go out, he'll probably keep waiting. Hearing Little One's words, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. The boss was just a set of data. He didn't need to eat, drink, or buy some cards. He was bored to death every day and had plenty of time to kill. He might even treat killing players as a way to relieve his boredom. Who could afford to waste time with him? Everyone couldn't help but wonder if this was the game company's way of selling cards. What should we do? Everyone turned their heads and asked Wuji. Wuji thought for a moment and said, Waiting for death here isn't a solution. We should take the initiative to attack and turn the tables. What nonsense! Everyone said in disdain. One of us has already died. We haven't even seen what the boss looks like. How are we going to turn the tables? The boss is up there. We have to think of a way to get him down. Wuji said. Get him down. Everyone's gaze turned to Yang Na and Little One. The archer class had the longest range, so only these two people could bring the person down from the tree. Little one hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Don't look at me. I'm a survivor. I play with traps. I'm not good at shooting." TCH. Everyone snorted in disdain and looked at Yang Na. Yang Na raised her head and measured the distance between the ground and the tree. She then shook her head and said, "I can't reach it either." This tree was very tall, at least 30 meters. As a demon hunter with a hidden class, Yang Na's longest range skill, Eagle Soars in the Sky, was only 20 meters. Moreover, Yang Na didn't have a target and could only snipe blindly. Even if she could reach the range, the enemy was in the dark while they were in the light. It was hard to say who would be killed first. F***ck. Seeing that Yang Na couldn't do it, Wuji, who had a stomach full of schemes, started to bite his nails. Mingdu suggested a rotten idea. "Why don't we build a human ladder?" Bullsh**T. Everyone immediately rejected the idea. F***CK, stacking a human pyramid in the boss's range. Did they have to let the boss entertain them before they died? That was too undignified. However, Mingdu's words gave Baiming Yoyu, who didn't like to talk, a reminder. Baiming Yoyu asked Wang Yu, "Niu Ge, don't you know Kung Fu? Do you know Cloud Ladder?" Wang Yu was slightly stunned. "What's Cloud Ladder?" "It's a type of Qigong. You can use your left foot to step on your right foot and fly into the atmosphere." Baiming Yoyu overlapped her hands and gestured. Wang Yu's head was full of black lines. "Who did you learn this from?" Chapter 352. "Reeks, I've read a novel that has this kind of kung fu," Baiming Yoyu said proudly. "By Chinese net," Wang Yu said. "It's quite well written, but it's a bit nonsensical." Kung fu was a type of combat technique. The goal was to hit the enemy. What was the difference between stepping on the right foot with the left foot and flying with your own head? It clearly went against common sense. "So, you don't know how to do it?" Baiming Yoyu was a little disappointed. "Nonsense. No one knows how to do it." Wang Yu replied impatiently, then said, "But after hearing your nonsense, I've thought of a good idea." "What idea?" everyone asked. "I'll just jump up the tree and take down the boss," Wang Yu said. Everyone was speechless. They asked Mingdu, "What did you say just now? Building a ladder?" "Damn, you're looking down on me." Wang Yu was furious. Wuji said, "Big brother, do you know how tall this tree is?" Of course, Wuji had seen Wang Yu's kung fu before. As for Wang Yu's kung fu, the experts of Qianjin did not dare to deny it. But the height of this tree was not something a 10-meter wall could compare to. It was a height of tens of meters. Archers could not even reach the farthest range. It was impossible for a grandmaster of combat to jump up. Moreover, there was a boss watching from above. Even if Wang Yu was a cat and knew how to climb trees, would the boss just let him climb? Rather than that, it was better to listen to Mingdu's idea to build a ladder. At least it was more reliable. Yu won. Wang Yu said unhappily, "I said we can go up, so we can go up." "Daoshu, old you two lie in ambush below. When the boss falls down, pull the aggro and don't let him escape." After saying that, Wang Yu bent down and lowered his center of gravity. His legs kicked the ground, and he ran towards the direction of the tree at an extremely fast speed. The boss on the tree was indeed waiting for everyone to appear. As soon as Wang Yu ran out of the maze, a row of arrows flew close to Wang Yu's body and hit the ground behind Wang Yu. When she was still a few meters away from the tree, Wang Yu cut her weapon into a long rod and slammed it down, sending her flying head first into the air. The pole in Wang Yu's hand was about 2.5 meters long. With this jump, he reached a height of 4 meters. Using the momentum of the pole vault, Wang Yu stepped on the tree trunk and rushed up another 5 or 6 meters. When he jumped to the highest point, the pole's momentum was used up. Just as Wang Yu was about to fall down, he activated Bursting Fist and jumped 3 meters high again. Wang Yu used the momentum to run up again. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yu ran to 2/3 of the tree. At that time, Wang Yu hit behind him with a chi wave and turned around. At the same time, he switched the weapon in his hand to the universe blade and stabbed it into the tree. Wang Yu jumped up and stepped on the blade. With Night Leap, Wang Yu's figure rose another 5 meters. At this time, the nearest tree branch to Wang Yu was less than 2 meters away. It's over. Old Cow's skill is used up. When the Chuanjin members saw Wang Yu soaring up and was about to jump onto the tree, they were shocked and excited. However, when they saw Wang Yu use Night Leap, Wuji and the others clenched their fists regretfully. Night Leap was Wang Yu's last life-saving skill. Since he had used this skill, it seemed that Wang Yu had reached his limit. Although jumping so high was enough to shock the world, it was just a little bit away. The Chuanjin members felt regretful. If their level was higher and their equipment was better, they should be able to go up. Yu too. Just when Wuji and the others thought that Wang Yu's efforts were in vain, they saw Wang Yu slap forward with his right hand, and a white gas wrapped around a tree branch. Wang Yu was pulled up as if he was hanging on wires. Finally, Wang Yu grabbed the branch with both hands, pulled, and jumped up. Cloud capturing hand. The cloud capturing hand could be used like this. Everyone in Chuanjin was dumbfounded. F***CK. Seeing that Wang Yu had really jumped onto the tree, Little One, Great Wall, and the others were shocked beyond words. From the time Wang Yu rushed out to the time he jumped onto the tree, less than 8 seconds had passed. During these 8 seconds, Wang Yu had done a pole lift, burst fist, and then jumped up. Finally, he had used cloud capturing hand to grab the tree branch in one go. His movements were seamless, and there were no flaws. He had fully displayed the greatest power of each skill. Wasn't maximizing the power of a skill the ultimate skill that everyone dreamed of achieving? Is this guy even human? Compared to the others, the one who was the most shocked was none other than Yang Na, who was also a martial arts practitioner. Ordinary players saw Wang Yu's perfect use of skills, but in the eyes of an expert like Yang Na, as long as one's reaction was fast enough and the rhythm was good enough, even an ordinary person could do it. The real technical content was Wang Yu's 2 lifts. Leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls looked like a simple technique to watch, but in China's martial arts, this kung fu focused on the martial artist's use of strength and technique. As the saying goes, strength comes from the ground. The tree trunk was vertical, and naturally, one would not be able to borrow any strength from a tree. If an ordinary person who did not know how to use strength tried to step on the tree, they would definitely end up flying in the opposite direction of the tree. Yu 3. Even if it was Yang Na, she would only need to run a short distance and then use the tree trunk to run up a few meters. With Yang Na's kung fu, she would be no different from an ordinary person in the end. However, Wang Yu had used a pole to jump up and then used the tree trunk to borrow strength. This kind of behavior was simply unimaginable. What was even more unimaginable was that Wang Yu had borrowed strength twice. He had basically grown his roots on the tree. It was no wonder that this fellow was called a world-shaking, peerless genius by the people in the circle. It wasn't an exaggeration at all. Yang Na didn't know if there were any more geniuses after him, but from this point alone, Wang Yu's ability was definitely unprecedented. F***CK. I almost embarrassed myself. After Wang Yu jumped up the tree, he secretly wiped off his sweat. He thought to himself that it was a good thing that the cloud capture fist at the end had worked. Otherwise, he would be laughed at by those idiots below him for the rest of his life. It turned out that Wang Yu did not expect the cloud capture fist to have such an effect when it was used on a fixed target. This tree was quite luxuriant, and the leaves blocked his line of sight. It was not as good as looking up from below. At this time, the boss was nearby, so Wang Yu did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly adjusted his state of consciousness to the highest level, feeling the air in all directions. Whoosh! An arrow flew diagonally upwards. Wang Yu leaped, dodging the arrow, and jumped onto the branch above his head. Just as Wang Yu steadied himself, another arrow flew over. However, Wang Yu had already locked onto the boss's position. With a wave of his hand, he swatted the arrow down and rushed towards the source of the murderous aura. Wang Yu had only run a few steps when he heard a pada sound. Wang Yu was frozen on the spot. F***CK. There's a trap on the tree. There's no justice in this world. Wang Yu was furious. The people below the tree said, "You're a F***king Grandmaster of Combat. jumping up a tree that's more than 30 meters tall. That's really unreasonable. Chapter 353. Reeks. The person was skinny and had a mask over his face. He wore dark green leather armor and held a light crossbow in his hand. He looked like a human, but he had pointy ears and his eyes glowed with a pale green light. He looked like an elf, but something seemed wrong. Scarlet Hunter, 9 HP, 7 OP, 5 skills. Hunting Master, Marauder, Survival Master, Trap Master, Child of the Forest background introduction. Night Elves were originally an elf race. Because they used magic to open the dimensional wall, darkness descended. They were cursed by the gods to not be able to use magic and could only survive in the dark. So it was a night elf. No wonder he looked so awkward. The elves that Wang Yu had seen before were all fair-skinned and good-looking. This guy's skin was dark, and he didn't look like a good person. The Scarlet Hunter was staring at Wang Yu. After confirming that Wang Yu was trapped, it raised the light crossbow in its hand and fired. The Scarlet Hunter's trap had a full 30 seconds effect. With the Scarlet Hunter's ability, Wang Yu didn't dare to let his guard down even when he could move. Naturally, he didn't dare to be careless now. Wang Yu quickly switched his weapon to the Universe Blade. He held the scabbard in his left hand and the blade in his right. He danced up and down and shot down all the arrows. Seeing that Wang Yu blocked all his attacks, the Scarlet Hunter was slightly stunned. He stretched out his right hand and pulled the crossbow with his left hand. 3 green arrows flew out and went straight for Wang Yu's head, chest, and lower body. Volley Sniper's main damage output skill was different from Sniper's level 20 multi-arrow. In Volley Sniper's state, each arrow had 280 damage and had a critical hit effect. This skill could definitely kill someone in one shot in the hands of the Scarlet Hunter. Yu won. Although Wang Yu didn't recognize this skill, he could tell that it was very powerful. He couldn't take it head-on. As such, Wang Yu calmly lowered his body and dodged the arrow at the top. At the same time, he used the scabbard to block the arrow at the chest and the blade to block the arrow at the bottom. At this time, Wang Yu suddenly found that the Scarlet Hunter in front of him had disappeared, and at the same time, a murderous aura came from beside him. Wang Yu looked up and saw that the Scarlet Hunter had run to his side the moment he dodged the arrow. At this time, the Scarlet Hunter was holding a dagger and stabbing at his neck. Damn, he actually sneak attacked me. Wang Yu was shocked and quickly lay down on the ground. He raised the Universe Saber in his right hand and stabbed the Scarlet Hunter's wrist to interrupt his attack. 43-54 damage numbers floated above the Scarlet Hunter's head. The Scarlet Hunter was indeed a guy who specialized in sneak attacks. At this time, not only did it not hit, but it was also cut. It immediately turned around and ran. This giant tree had many branches and leaves. With the Scarlet Hunter's outfit, he didn't need to hide at all. As long as he laid down on the trunk, no one would be able to find him. If he jumped to another branch and wanted to find him again, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. As such, of course, Wang Yu wouldn't let him go. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yu waved his right hand and threw the Universe Saber in his hand. He shouted, "Go down!" The Universe Saber stabbed into the back of the Scarlet Hunter's leg without any deviation. The Universe Saber was a dual-wielding weapon. As long as either the scabbard or the blade was in the hands of the player, the system would determine that the Universe Saber was equipped. Although this knife was thrown by Wang Yu, the system determined that it was an assassination. 32-45 Wang Yu's knife wasn't thrown casually. Wang Yu aimed at the back of the Scarlet Hunter's knee, which was the Weizhong point. If a normal person was hit there, they would be limping for at least half a day. Yu too. However, this was a game, after all. The Scarlet Hunter was slashed by Wang Yu's blade, but it only swayed a little and lost its balance. With a low grunt, it fell from the tree branch. Whoosh! Just when Wang Yu thought that his attack was successful, the Scarlet Hunter stretched out its hands. 2 ropes flew out of its palms and nailed the branch. Still resisting, Wang Yu was moved by the Scarlet Hunter's tenacious spirit. He casually pulled out the Fire Dragon magic gun from his waist and fired a round of repelling bullets, sending the Scarlet Hunter flying. "Hurry up and catch him. Don't let him escape." Wang Yu shouted in the party channel after shooting the Scarlet Hunter down. A single tree was enough to become the Scarlet Hunter's hiding spot. There was a huge forest below, and if such a tall tree could climb up, the other trees in the forest would be no problem. When Wang Yu climbed up the tree, Ming Jian, Dao Xue, and the other two assassins were already waiting under the tree. When they saw the Scarlet Hunter fall down the tree, the three of them hurriedly ran to the Scarlet Hunter's position and waited. The Scarlet Hunter was a survivor and assassin dual class. It was a typical agility-type boss with a high quick recover rate. The 30-meter height gave the Scarlet Hunter enough time. After the Scarlet Hunter landed, it saw the three assassins surrounding it. With a wave of its right hand, a circle of throwing knives flew towards the three. It scattershot. Retreat. Mingji and Dao Xue and the others were not noobs like Wang Yu. They recognized the Scarlet Hunter's skill at a glance. Scattershot was a level 45 survivor skill. It used throwing knives or arrows to attack all targets in a 180-degree, 500-degree range. This was a skill that had been shown in the trailer before the game's open beta. Most players who had experienced Rebirth would not be unfamiliar with this skill. At that time, the guy who had fought against the survivor had dodged by retreating. After the Scarlet Hunter forced the three to retreat, it turned around and ran into the forest. You three, don't let him escape. Come and help, Ming Jian Dao Xue shouted. He chased after the Scarlet Hunter with Baiming Yoyu and Little Five. Hearing this, the others also ran out of the illusion and followed closely behind. Yang Na ran the fastest. As she ran, she raised her crossbow and shot an arrow into the back of the Scarlet Hunter's head. 2144, when the Scarlet Hunter was hit, it was stunned for a moment. Then, it immediately turned around and shot an arrow at the pursuers behind it. Mingji and Dao Xue and the other two were not far from the Scarlet Hunter. When they saw the Scarlet Hunter suddenly stop, they didn't have time to react. They saw a yellow light flying towards them. The three of them could not dodge in time and were pierced by the Scarlet Hunter's arrows. Piercing Arrow Sniper, level 25 skill. Deals piercing damage to 3 targets in the arrow's trajectory. 14% chance of critical hit. 2270-503 damage values floated above the three of them. Chapter 354. Reeks, F*CK Little Five. When Little One saw that he was the only one left in his team, he was extremely frustrated. If you want to play and watch, come. Famous Blade Dao Xue and Baiming Yu, who only had a sliver of HP left, naturally did not dare to give chase. They hurriedly used stealth and swift retreat, hiding behind the two shield bearers who were charging at them. These were similar to grandmasters of combat. They were both fragile. That arrow just now had given famous Blade Dao Xue and Baiming Yu quite a scare. Inlao Air and Crimson Great Wall raised their shields and protected the two assassins behind them, blocking the arrows that were shooting towards them. After the two finished drinking potions and recovered their HP, they used charge and charged towards the Scarlet Hunter. Just as the two of them were halfway there, they heard the sound of 2 traps being triggered. Then 2 rays of light, one blue and one red, lit up. Inlauer and the Bloody Great Wall were directly fixed on the spot. Frost Trap and Fire Trap. Survivor 20 and level 25 trap skill. That was not the end of it. The moment the 2 tanks were trapped by the trap, the Crimson Hunter threw all sorts of projectiles at them, causing their HP to plummet. Even if the 2 tanks were holding expensive intermediate potions in their hands, there was a time limit to the potion's effects. They could not withstand the boss's bombardment at all. Fortunately, Wuji arrived in time and cast a few healing spells to save the 2. Seeing that everyone was here, the Scarlet Hunter did not linger and turned to run again. Yang Na and Little One wanted to chase after it, but were stopped by Wuji. Don't chase after it, you'll be kite to death. Wuji was right. The Scarlet Hunter was a boss that knew how to kite. In the past, it was always Xuanzhen's people who were outnumbered and kiting others, but this time they were tricked by the AI. As for the others, they also had a new understanding of the archer profession. Everyone who played the game knew that due to personality issues, there was a certain amount of discrimination between the various classes. Range classes would laugh at melee classes because they were too barbaric and lacked skill. Melee classes would laugh at range classes because they only knew how to cower in the back and deal damage. As for fringe support professions like priests and knights, they would always be the scapegoats, so it was not worth mentioning. Therefore, in addition to the archer profession, everyone else subconsciously thought that the archer profession was just a role to be disliked. Today, these guys were taught a good lesson by the Scarlet Hunter. From top to bottom, from close to far, traps and arrows were used, leaving the experts at their wits' end. Meow, this boss is too vicious. He actually has so many skills. Bai Yu said with lingering fear. Hearing North Sea Fish's words, everyone came to a realization. A normal boss only had 3 to 5 skills, and although the Scarlet Hunter's skills weren't any special skills, they were endless. They had never seen him use them repeatedly. Have you investigated this grandson's stats? Wuji asked famous Sword Dao Xue and Dark North Yoyu. Ming Jindao's snow-white face reddened as she said, "How can I make it in time? This fellow is too fast. If I'm not careful, it'll be over." What about you guys? Wuji asked Yin Lao Air and the Blood Great Wall. The two shook their heads. We didn't have time to look. He ran far away. Wuji was speechless. This boss was really smart, killing 2 people in a row without even revealing his trump card. I know. At this moment, Wang Yu, who was on the tree, took a screenshot from the battle log and threw it into the channel. This is actually a boss of all classes. When everyone saw the Scarlet Hunter stats, they couldn't help but cry out in surprise. You too. No wonder this guy was so hard to deal with. This guy's classes included both thief and archer. He could stab people at close range, sneak attack people at long range, and set traps at medium range. This was too scary. They had finally met an opponent with the same temperament. Speaking of which, what are you doing up there? Why aren't you coming down? Everyone curiously asked Wang Yu. Wang Yu gloomily said, "Damn, I fell into a trap. I'll be frozen for 30 seconds. There are still 3 seconds left." You really fell into a trap? Everyone asked. Humph. Why don't you try to find some face for himself? Damn, this bastard doesn't play by the rules. He hung a trap on the tree. If I knew he was so wretched, I wouldn't have fallen for it. After listening to Wang Yu's words, everyone on the ground was once again shocked speechless. Damn, he fell into a trap and still managed to beat down the boss that was tormenting them to death. This guy was the scarier one. This guy was the real boss, right? Especially the first-year students. They once again recalled the first time Wang Yu fell into a trap and was able to kill them. At this moment, their hearts were much more balanced. After all, a person was so strong that even the boss couldn't do anything to him when he was frozen. Even if they lost badly, they still had the face to say that it was an honorable defeat. This was what it meant to be stained by one's company. Before they could finish this dungeon, the first-year students had learned to be shameless. 3 seconds later, Wang Yu's trap was finally lifted. He jumped down from the tree and asked everyone, "Where did the boss go?" Everyone pointed to the forest and said, "He went into the forest. You guys go and lure him out." Wang Yu commanded like a boss. "Why don't you go?" Everyone asked in confusion. Everyone had seen the boss's strength. They couldn't do anything to him in an open space, and in a forest environment like this, he could be easily bullied. At this time, the only person who could pose a threat to the boss, Wang Yu, was asking others to chase after him. They really didn't know what Wang Yu was planning. Wang Yu said with a straight face, "Going into the forest with the boss in broad daylight, what a scandal. You're afraid of getting lost and don't dare to go into the forest, right?" Wuji mocked. Wang Yu said non-committally, "If you don't lure him out, I can't kill him." Wang Yu laughed and said, "Isn't it just luring a boss? All right, you wait. If you want to go, you go." The others saw Wuji's words and quickly avoided Wuji's gaze. What a joke, with the boss's wretchedness. Who knows how many landmines he had buried in the forest in such a short amount of time. Whoever went would die. Although dying in the game wasn't scary, no one wanted to make an unnecessary sacrifice. "I'll go then." Wuji looked at everyone in disdain, turned around, and walked in the opposite direction. Hey, you're walking the opposite direction. Mingdu reminded. I'm not walking in the opposite direction. Wuji replied plainly and walked to the side of the huge tree. He waved his staff and threw a holy light orb at the tree. F***CK, Wuji, are you crazy? Are you trying to cut down the tree to warn others? Mingdu looked at the floating holy light orb and asked in shock. Just watch. What's with all the nonsense? As Wuji spoke, the holy light orb had already floated to the tree trunk. 841 as light priests were the bane of dark classes. Wuji's priest alone dealt close to 1,000 damage. At the same time, the attributes of the huge black tree were presented to everyone. Chapter 355. Tree of Darkness, Special, HP, 3000000P, 100000 Skills. Death Coil, Origin of Nature, Lord of the Forest background introduction. When the Night Elves were banished, they took away a branch of the Tree of Life. After thousands of years, it became the new source of life for the Night Elves. With the help of the sixth apostle, the Bloody Hunter obtained part of the power of the Tree of God. Everyone looked at the attributes of the Tree of Darkness and said in surprise, "This tree is the boss?" Wuji, how did you know? Wuji explained with a smile. The system wouldn't set up such a special scene for no reason. Plus, the Bloody Hunter is an elf, so I gave a try. Maybe this tree is its nest, but I didn't expect it to be the boss. The elves believed in nature and liked to live on trees that were full of vitality. This was a well-known fact. Moreover, Wuji knew from the NPCs in the Elven City that the elves had the attribute of being a house slave. To them, the trees they lived on were more important than their lives. That works too. Everyone was speechless at Wuji's imagination. Mingdu said doubtfully, "So what if the Tree of Darkness can attack? Isn't the Bloody Hunter hiding in the forest?" Hee. Wuji laughed and asked, "If your house was destroyed, would you still be so calm?" Mingdu was stunned for a moment and immediately understood what Wuji meant. He then said in disdain, I live in the staff dormitory." Wuji ignored Mingdu's quibble and turned to the others. "Everyone, come and help. I don't believe that the Bloody Hunter will hide and not come out." Realizing the importance of this tree, everyone ran to attack the Tree of Darkness. Although the Tree of Darkness had the word Dark Gold in its name, it was an extremely useless guy. Other than its frighteningly high HP, it basically had no other abilities. The skill Death Coil looked very pretentious, but it was actually a non-directional control skill. It could control the roots to entangle a target within a 500-meter range, forcing the target into a 5-second immobilized state. It was a natural skill. The biggest feature of this crowd control skill was its long preparation time. As long as one could see the roots beneath their feet and pay attention to their footwork, they could easily evade it. On the first floor of the Sunset Shrine, everyone's weapons were buffed with the Twilight God's attack buff. Against such a sandbag-like boss, everyone's damage output was quite high. Before long, the Tree of Darkness's HP dropped to around 70%. Swish! Swish! While everyone was happily chopping, 3 green arrows were shot from the forest. From the previous battle, everyone had already determined that the Scarlet Hunter's range was at least 30 meters. In the game, it was definitely the range of a sniper. In order to prevent a sneak attack from the Scarlet Hunter, the 2 low-damage shield warriors, Yin Lao Air and the Scarlet Great Wall, had been guarding the perimeter. When he saw the 3 arrows flying towards him, Yin Lao Air reacted quickly. He raised his giant shield and swung it left and right. Clang! Clang! The 3 arrows were all blocked by the huge shield, emitting a crisp sound. At the same time, the durability on Yin Lao Air's shield dropped by a chunk. Low-level equipment in front of a high-level boss was indeed a little lacking. However, as Wuji expected, the Scarlet Hunter was a mortgage slave. Seeing that someone was destroying its nest, it panicked and actually launched a sneak attack. It seemed that you didn't even need to specifically climb up the tree to catch it. As long as someone came to attack it, it would obediently jump down. As expected, seeing that its volley of arrows was blocked, the Scarlet Hunter's eyes darkened and it went into stealth. As a thief and archer dual-class boss, stealth skills were indeed child's play to the Scarlet Hunter. Huh? Why did it go silent after just one attack? Inlao Air asked Wuji curiously. Don't tell me that he doesn't care about this stupid tree's life or death. Wuji was also puzzled. He frowned and said, that doesn't make sense. Forget it. Just continue to keep an eye on it. Tell us when you see it. All right. Inlao Air and the Scarlet Great Wall both nodded. Anyway, with their little attack power, it didn't make much of a difference to the Tree of Darkness, which had millions of HP. After another 2 rounds, Wang Yu suddenly became alert. Did you guys notice that this tree is very excited? Everyone was speechless. Are you crazy? Can you even make the tree climax? Wang Yu didn't refute. In fact, Wang Yu only felt that the Tree of Darkness's skill release speed was slightly faster. However, this was a game after all, so it didn't mean anything. However, at this moment, the Scarlet Hunter's figure suddenly appeared behind Wuji. Wuji, be careful. To place one's pride, who was next to Wuji, was the first to see the Scarlet Hunter and shouted a warning. Unfortunately, the Scarlet Hunter only appeared because it was attacking Wuji. To place one's pride had just shouted a word when the Scarlet Hunter's dagger was already inserted into Wuji's back. 6243, a number that could instantly kill a shield warrior, appeared above Wuji's head. Wuji's body swayed slightly. Without turning his head, he pounced forward and laid prone on the ground. Bao San, who was beside him, immediately activated Whirlwind Slash and swung his greatsword at the Scarlet Hunter. The Scarlet Hunter raised its dagger and blocked Bao San's Whirlwind Slash. Then it flew back a few meters. After the Scarlet Hunter landed on the ground, it put away its dagger and activated stealth again, disappearing in an instant. At this time, Bao San had already canceled the skill. His figure flashed, appearing not far from where the Scarlet Hunter had disappeared. At the same time, he lowered his head and used charge. 13005622 damage values floated up and knocked the Scarlet Hunter out of the air. The Scarlet Hunter hurriedly activated swift movement and retreated. Bao San followed it like a shadow and blocked the Scarlet Hunter. He swung his long sword 4 times in a row. 1 2 4 5 1 3 5 4 1 4 4 2 1 4 8 9. After a series of damage, the Scarlet Hunter turned around and ran in the opposite direction. Before it could run far, Bao San changed his position again. 1124, 8 damage value rose up as Bao San blocked the Scarlet Hunter for the 3rd time. Epic skill, Profound Swordsmanship Triple Slash. This skill was the epic skill book that Wang Yu had obtained from the hidden dungeon. Triple Slash was a skill that allowed the user to attack a target 3 times in a row. Not only could this skill be used separately, but could also be used together with other skills during the skill's casting time. What was even more frightening was that this was a directional skill. After being locked on, even if the Scarlet Hunter disappeared, the first slash would still accurately hit the target. Coupled with other skills, the Scarlet Hunter was actually entangled by Bao San. Chapter 356. Oh my, Bao San's skill is pretty cool. Seeing Bao San move 3 times in a row and block the boss, the eyes of Chuanjin's members lit up. Bao San had always kept a low profile. Although no one dared underestimate him, they did not expect him to have such a trump card. Bao San smiled in his signature way and turned around. Brother Chun. All right. As Chun Xiang spoke, Distortion Barrier finished its countdown, trapping Bao San and the Scarlet Hunter inside. Damn, I was almost stabbed to death. At this time, Wuji also climbed up from the ground. Little One's eyes immediately popped out. You're still alive. The boss's stab just now dealt more than 6,000 damage. Even a tank would be instantly killed, yet Wuji, a cleric, did not die. Little did they know that Wuji's staff had a skill that could convert HP to HP. However, the Scarlet Hunter's stab was truly ruthless. Not only did Wuji's mana bar emptied, but his HP also dropped to single digits. If Wuji did not get down on the ground in time, he would have been killed by the Scarlet Hunter's spit. Nonsense, I won't die so easily. Wuji gulped down a potion to recover some of his HP. He then cast a few heals on his head to pull his HP back up. The Scarlet Hunter raised its dagger and stabbed Bao San. Players who played manual mode knew that agility-based bosses like the Scarlet Hunter were the most difficult to deal with. Even Wang Yu had a headache dealing with this kind of boss. Although Bao San had learned swordsmanship for a few days, he was not even as good as to place one's pride. He could bully small monsters, but it was not enough in front of the Scarlet Hunter. Swoosh, 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 the Scarlet Hunter swung its dagger 3 times. Bao San could not block it in time and was directly cut into HP. Bao San quickly retreated, but this time, the effect of distortion boundary had also been lifted. The Scarlet Hunter's eyes narrowed, and the dagger was thrust forward, stabbing Bao San's chest. Seeing that the boss was about to kill the Scarlet Hunter, Wang Yu, who was standing on the side, reached out and grabbed the Scarlet Hunter's wrist. She activated Ferocious Tiger Strike and pulled the Scarlet Hunter back. At the same time, Wang Yu extended her right leg and pressed down with her left hand, pinning the Scarlet Hunter to the ground. Everyone saw that Wang Yu had pressed the Scarlet Hunter to the ground. Just as they were about to attack, they heard a swishing sound. Then, with the Scarlet Hunter as the center, a tree root appeared on the ground. It was the death coil of the Tree of Darkness. Retreat. Following Wuji's command, everyone hurriedly retreated to the vicinity of the Tree of Darkness. Wang Yu also jumped up and stomped on the Scarlet Hunter's head with a thunder stomp. He activated Collapsing Fist and flew out of the skill's range. The Scarlet Hunter paused for a second, then quickly recovered and turned around to run in the direction of the Tree of Darkness. Yin Lauer and the Scarlet Great Wall raised their shields to block, but who would have thought that the Scarlet Hunter's speed would suddenly increase by a large margin? It suddenly turned around the two of them, and at the same time, raised its crossbow and shot at their backs. 47,514,568 inches the settings of rebirth. Other than movement skills, range classes could not use other skills while moving. Therefore, these two attacks were just normal attacks. The normal attacks actually took away more than 2/3 of the health of the two tanks. Yin Lao Air cried out in surprise. Damn, how did this guy suddenly become stronger? Although the Scarlet Hunter was not easy to deal with, it was not strong to this extent. At the very least, its attack and speed were not as scary as now. Seeing this scene, the others were also stunned. One by one, they cast Detect on the Scarlet Hunter, only to find that a special status had appeared on the Scarlet Hunter. Child of the Forest. All attributes increased by 100. Attack and movement speed increased by 200. Activates within 1,000 range of the Tree of Darkness. At this time, the Tree of Darkness also had a special status. Lord of the Forest. All attributes increased by 100. Defense increased by 300. Activates within 1,000 range of the Scarlet Hunter. Everyone was shocked. Damn, so that's what this stupid skill is. So shameless. In a flash, the Scarlet Hunter had already rushed under the tree. Everyone knew that the Scarlet Hunter was difficult to deal with. At this time, not only was it not under Wang Yu's control, but it was also buffed. No one dared to stop it, and they were forced to run in all directions. On the other hand, the Scarlet Hunter had no intention of killing them. He ran to the Tree of Darkness and held onto the trunk with one hand. The Tree of Darkness suddenly emitted a purple light. In an instant, the two bosses were fully healed. Damn, this can't be. Everyone was about to cry. They had finally beaten the boss to this state, but the other party used a skill and resurrected them with full health. Was there no boss in this dungeon that was more shameless than the most shameless? What the hell do we do? Everyone was speechless. The usually calm Wuji also frowned, not knowing what to do. Separate them, Wang Yu shouted. Separate? How? It would have been better if Wang Yu hadn't said this. Once he said this, everyone was even more depressed. At this stage, who didn't know that the best way to deal with the two bosses was to separate them. However, when the two of them were together, not only were their attack and defense ridiculously high, their recovery was even more so. They were simply the most amazing nail-biter in history. Mingdu's eyes were about to tear up. He was a town security officer, and he was also in charge of demolition. He had to grasp both sides, and he had to be tough. The life of a temporary worker was really hard. You guys go push the tree, I'll go drag him away. Wang Yu decisively took on the most heartless task. All right, everyone heard this and unanimously agreed to Wang Yu's suggestion. As long as they dragged the boss away, they could just casually tear down the tree. As for Wang Yu's strength, no one doubted him. He could jump up a tree that was more than 30 meters tall, and drag the boss away was a piece of cake. Do it! Wang Yu took a deep breath, took out a small green bottle, opened the cork, and poured it into his mouth. He then shouted and rushed over. Stimulant. All attributes increased by 300, reduces max HP by 2% per second, lasts for 50 seconds. This item was something that Wang Yu had extorted from an NPC when he was helping Li Shui with a quest. There were a total of 4 bottles, but there was no prescription. Every bottle used was 1 bottle less, and it was Wang Yu's trump card. Wang Yu had used 1 bottle when he was fighting against Arceus in Titan City. Wang Yu had planned to use the remaining bottles at the most critical moment. Even when he was fighting Angela, he couldn't bear to take them out. Today, Wang Yu did not hesitate to drink 1 bottle. It could be considered as giving it his all. Chapter 357. The stimulant only lasted for 50 seconds, but for Wang Yu, it was enough to drag the Scarlet Hunter away. After drinking the stimulant, Wang Yu activated Burst Fist and went straight for the Scarlet Hunter. Wang Yu, with his speed increased by 3 times, instantly crossed a large distance and flew in front of the Scarlet Hunter. After the Scarlet Hunter recovered, it was ready to continue hunting. When it saw Wang Yu flying over, it pulled its dagger and stabbed at Wang Yu's chest without saying a word. Wang Yu calmly moved to the side, dodging the Scarlet Hunter's dagger. His hands moved forward. His right hand grabbed the wrist of the Scarlet Hunter that was holding the dagger and pulled with Tiger Strike. His left hand pressed on the Scarlet Hunter's shoulder and used the momentum to hit the Scarlet Hunter's back with an Iron Mountain Crusher. As everyone knew, the faster the speed, the greater the inertia. At this time, both Wang Yu and the Scarlet Hunter's speed had increased by several times. The speed of their attacks was too fast for the eyes to follow. Everyone only felt the two touch each other, and then the Scarlet Hunter was thrown out. After the Scarlet Hunter was thrown out a few meters, it staggered, and before it could regain its balance, Wang Yu ran a few steps, jumped up, and stepped on the Scarlet Hunter's face. Eagle Stamp activated. 1 kick, 2 kicks, 3 kicks. After 3 consecutive kicks, the Scarlet Hunter was pushed back a few meters. Wang Yu then landed on the ground and raised his leg to kick the Scarlet Hunter's chest. The kick sent the Scarlet Hunter flying backwards. Wang Yu's eyes widened. In the end, Wang Yu appeared behind the Scarlet Hunter in a flash of white light. She jumped back and extended her arms forward. As she jumped back, she launched a knee strike. The Scarlet Hunter was instantly dragged out of the Child of the Jungle state. Everything returned to normal. At this time, Wang Yu's stimulant effect had only lasted for 4 seconds. Looking at the freak Wang Yu, everyone was so dumbfounded that they almost forgot what they were supposed to do. Even though everyone knew that Wang Yu would succeed, nobody could imagine that Wang Yu would be able to drag a level 50 boss more than 10 meters away. This was simply too shocking. After leaving the active range of the Child of the Forest, the Bloody Hunter was no longer as powerful as before. On the other hand, Wang Yu, who was at 3 times his normal strength, was exceptionally strong. With the increase in his strength attribute, Wang Yu's skill priority had increased significantly. With the increase in his agility attribute, Wang Yu's attack speed had also increased. Side kick in the air, straight punch, Tiger Strike, grab chop, fist cannon punches flew everywhere, and figures crisscrossed. Wang Yu's attacks were like precise drum beats. Although the rhythm was fast, there was not a hint of disorder. The combo was flawless, and it did not give the Scarlet Hunter any chance to turn around. Wang Yu, who had 3 times his normal stats, could take out around 12,000 HP from the Scarlet Hunter with each attack. In just 40 seconds, the Scarlet Hunter's HP was full, and it was beaten to death by Wang Yu's punches and kicks. As soon as the Scarlet Hunter died, the Tree of Darkness's body emitted a black light, and then it quickly withered. It fell to the ground and turned into a pile of dead wood. At the same time, the others who were attacking the Tree of Darkness received a system notification. The Tree of Darkness's host has died. The life contract has been canceled. The Tree of Darkness has lost its life source and has been killed. It turned out that the lives of the Tree of Darkness and the Scarlet Hunter were the same. As long as one died, the other would also die. No wonder the Scarlet Hunter would risk its life to ambush them. After killing the two bosses, everyone let out a long sigh of relief. After playing Rebirth for so long, this was definitely the most exciting one. It forced Wang Yu to drink potions. It was enough to show how difficult this boss was to deal with. After resting, it was time to loot. In the battle with the Scarlet Hunter, other than Wang Yu, the one who contributed the most was Bao San, who blocked the boss in time. Therefore, the task of looting was given to Bao San. The boss of this level was so difficult to deal with, and the rewards were much better than the previous two levels. The two bosses could be looted a total of 8 times. Bao San looted the Scarlet Hunter first. As the host, the items that the Scarlet Hunter dropped would definitely be better, so Bao San had to use his luck on the main boss. The first item that was looted was a crossbow. Hunter's crossbow attack, 80120 mana, 20702, 0 agility, 15 strength survival instinct. Trap casting speed increased by 50 hunting. Trap effect increased by 50 trap mastery. Can place 1 additional trap. Required profession, survivor required level. 30. The main attributes of the crossbow were neither good nor bad. It was considered normal among the gold weapons. The 3 additional skills were designed for survivors. The casting speed and effect were the most basic criteria to judge whether a survivor was an expert. The number of traps was the attribute that survivors dreamed of. Survivors who didn't have trap mastery before level 40 could only place 2 traps. Usually it was 1 to control and 1 to deal damage. With this crossbow, the damage could be increased by quite a bit. Although Yang Na also had the trap skill, she had a godly weapon and didn't care about it. The Scarlet Hunter King was a sniper, so this crossbow naturally went to Little One. With this weapon, Little One's disappointment from all his brothers dying eased a lot. The second item was a skill book. Rapid shooting, rare skill. Shoot 3 powerful magic arrows with a critical hit effect at the same time to attack the enemy. Required profession, archer. After learning rapid shooting at level 30, this skill will automatically be upgraded to enhanced rapid shooting. Rapid shooting was the most important damage output skill for archers. Being able to learn it 5 levels ahead of others was definitely an advantage. Moreover, it could be upgraded to an enhanced version after reaching level 30. Yang Na's eyes widened when she saw this skill. But there were 2 archers, so Yang Na could only choose to roll for it with the Scarlet Hunter King. In the end, the skill was tragically taken by the Scarlet Hunter King. Yang Na's face darkened and became very gloomy. This woman had been spoiled since she was young. Her emotions were as she pleased. Seeing Yang Na like this, the Scarlet Hunter King was frightened. He took the skill book and handed it over. Sister Shui, why don't you take it? Humph. Yang Na turned her head away. No. Scarlet Hunter King was speechless. Bao San laughed. Fine. You're still throwing a tantrum. I'll just loot another archer item. Bao San, my ass. Are you going to let us live? Famous Sword Dao Shui was furious. The thief and archer boss was an all-class boss. The drop rate was naturally the archer and thief items. Wang Yu and the others didn't think much of it, but Famous Sword Dao Shui, who was a thief, was obviously unhappy when he heard Bao San's words. F***CK. This boss had a total of 4 loot chances. He had already looted 2 archer items. Chapter 358. F***CK. Seeing the book in Bao San's hand, Ming Jian Dao Shui cried out gloomily, "Damn it, what kind of hand does Bao San have?" Shooting mastery. Rare skill, attack range increased by 50. TSK. Sister Dao Shui is so lucky. Seeing the skill book in Bao San's hand, the others were all envious. Attack range was the most important thing for range classes. As the saying goes, an inch longer, an inch stronger. In Rebirth, a player's attack range was not fixed and inconvenient. Other than grandmasters of combat, every profession would have a specialization skill after level 10, which could enhance the effects of their weapons. After that, they could level up once every 30 levels. For example, an archer's crossbow mastery could increase range, and a warrior's weapon mastery could increase damage. Currently, increasing the range by 50 points was only an increase of 5 meters. However, in the later stages of the game, the archer profession's crossbow specialization would be able to shoot up to dozens of meters. At that time, increasing the range by 50 points would be an astronomical figure. After all, a class with long hands would always have an advantage. After Bao San looted the shooting mastery skill book, Yang Na's expression became much better. Bao San was about to continue looting when Dao Xue suddenly said in a serious tone, "I hope you can loot a thief item this time, please." Bao San was taken aback by Dao Xue's serious expression. "I'll try my best." Saying so, Bao San looted the last item on the Scarlet Hunter. Ring of the Forest Attack, 30-30 mana, 30-30 class requirement. Thief, archer level requirement, 30 item description. Treasure of the Elves, a total of 2 rings. Seeing this ring, everyone was silent. It's actually trash. How should I put it? This ring was a piece of equipment with full attributes. It was definitely the best among equipment of the same tier. However, it was a white tier equipment, which meant that it was destined to be trash. That was why players referred to this low-tier equipment with high attributes as the best trash. Who would have thought that the Scarlet Hunter, which was so difficult to deal with, would drop something like this? What a surprise. Damn. Dao Xue looked at the ring's description and couldn't help but say, "This is a F** king treasure. Then do you want it?" Bao San asked Dao Xue. "If you give it to me for free, I'll take it." Famous Sword Dao Xue constantly revealed his merchant side. "What do you think?" Bao San asked the others. Give it to him, everyone said, waving their hands. A piece of trash like this would not be able to fetch a high price. Previously, when Mingji and Dao Xue and Bai Mingyu had surrounded the Scarlet Hunter, they had put in a lot of effort. Although they had failed on the verge of success, they had still put in a lot of effort. Moreover, the two of them had their throats slit by the Scarlet Hunter with a single arrow. They had been scared out of their wits. After looting the 4 pieces of equipment, aside from the last ring, which was trash, Bao San's luck was pretty good. At this moment, Wang Yu suddenly walked to the Scarlet Hunter's side, pulled the Scarlet Hunter's clothes, and rummaged through it. "Old cow, what are you doing?" Everyone was shocked. Was this brat going to whip his corpse? Wang Yu did not reply. He used strength in his hands and tore open the Scarlet Hunter's clothes. Then he pulled out a rope. At one end of the rope, there was a grappling hook that looked like a hand. It looked very strange. "What is this?" Everyone was shocked. Could boss equipment be found like this? Wang Yu laughed and showed them the grappling hook. Flying Dragon rope item description. A tool used by thieves to break the roof tiles. The reason why Wang Yu had killed the Scarlet Hunter despite taking drugs was mainly because of this item. This thing belonged to the rope category in Huaxia's weaponry. It was a climbing tool. It was true that Wang Yu could climb walls, but grandmasters of combat had many limitations when it came to leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls. For example, without a thick tree trunk, Wang Yu would not have been able to climb up the tree no matter what. But with the Flying Dragon rope, it was different. As long as the rope was long enough, he could go anywhere, and he would not be in a situation like before. That was why when Wang Yu was on the tree, he saw the Flying Dragon rope in the Scarlet Hunter's hands. This item was definitely a killer weapon for Wang Yu. What the F***CK is this for? Everyone looked at the Flying Dragon rope in Wang Yu's hands blankly. This thing was worse than a whiteboard, and it could not be used. "It's for the upper room." Wang Yu gestured with his hands. Very professional, very no-go. Everyone praised sincerely. Next, Bao San looted the Tree of Darkness. Death Coil, rare skill. Manipulates the roots of the plant and causes a 5-second immobilizing effect in a 500-meter radius. Profession requirement. Warlock A, very annoying control skill. Chun Xiang was the only warlock in the team, so he naturally took it. The second item was a pair of boots. Twilight Leap Physical Defense. 60 Magic Defense. 60 Strength. 15 Vitality. 20 Profession Requirement. Shield Warrior Level Requirement. 30 Twilight Set. 13 Twilight Shield. 1 Twilight Brilliance. 1 Twilight Leap. 11 Set Attributes. One of the Twilight Set equipment. The Scarlet Great Wall had already taken the Twilight Shield, so the boots were taken by Lao Air. F***CK. The Scarlet Great Wall said to Lao Air with bloodshot eyes, "If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have sold the shield to you." Set equipment. Set equipment was precious because it was a complete set. The Scarlet Great Wall had sold the shield because it could not complete a set. The attributes of a single piece of equipment were average. Who knew that a second piece would drop so quickly? The Scarlet Great Wall was filled with regret. It can't be helped. This is fate. Lao Air said proudly. The 200 gold had not been wasted. The third item was also a piece of equipment. It was a pair of cloth gauntlets. Mana Source Physical Defense. 1. 530 Magic Defense. 4. 60 Intelligence. 15 Spirit. 20 Mana Growth. Increases max by 400 P Mana Spring. Recovers max by 3 HP per second. Profession Requirement. Mage Level Requirement. 30. Yet another low-grade piece of equipment with crappy main attributes but overpowered additional attributes. Currently, mages had around 4,000 HP. If they could recover 3 HP per second, that would be 120 HP. Moreover, the single target skill that mages had the highest mana consumption, Lightning, only consumed 150 HP. If they had good control of the tempo, they would have unlimited firepower. Mingdu raised his hand and shouted at Bao San. Bao San's face darkened. Don't be like that. Even if you're a human, you're still a mage. Mingdu said, "It's fine. We're good brothers. I just gave him a staff. He will definitely let me have this gauntlet." Chapter 359. F***CK. Crimson Explosion touched the whiteboard magic staff that Bao Liming had given him. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. No wonder this legendary villain treated him so well as soon as he met him. So, he was waiting for him here. How could he be so stupid for a moment and believe that this guy was a good person? The Chuanjin sect's tricks were indeed unfathomable. "Is that right, Explosion?" Mingdu asked. "Yeah." Scarlet Explosion hesitated for a moment before replying helplessly, "Yes." There was nothing he could do about it. The characters of Chuanjin's gangsters weren't good, but their strength was frighteningly high. Especially after seeing Wang Yu's abilities, Scarlet Explosion had to be even more careful. It was said that Scarlet Rose had lost her reputation because she fought with Chuanjin for equipment. This was a bloody lesson. OL3, hand it over. Mingdu snickered and snapped his fingers at Bao San. Bao San gave Mingdu the middle finger in disdain and threw the wrist guard at him. The last item was another ring. Ring of the Forest Attack, 30 mana, 30 class requirement. Thief, Archer level requirement. 30 item description, a treasure of the elves. A total of 2 rings. The description was exactly the same as the one in Mingjian Daoshue's hand, but one was the main ring and the other was the accessory. Mingjian Daoshue's ring had a red gem, while this one had a green gem. "Old you, I'll give this to you for free." Bao San tossed the ring to Bai Ming Yoyu. Bai Ming Yoyu didn't hold back and caught it. To place one's pride smiled. "'Tis TSK, a pair of rings, one for each of us." "What are you thinking, Bao San?" To place one's pride's words caused Bai Ming Yoyu's face to turn red. Bai Ming Yoyu was a newcomer and wasn't so thick-skinned that she wouldn't be affected by praise or humiliation. To place one's pride's mockery, she couldn't hold it in anymore and threw the ring to Mingjian Daoshua. "Hell, let's exchange rings." Chun Xiang added fuel to the fire. Mingjian Daoshua pulled out his dagger and threatened, "I can insta-kill both of you." Only then did they shut up. However, at that moment, the ring on Mingjian Daoshue's hand suddenly burst out with purple light. Then, famous sword Daoshue received a system notification. "You have activated the Ring of the Forest." Elf race honor points, 50. Currently neutral. Dao Xue was stunned for a moment. When he looked at the ring of the forest, he was immediately stunned. What's wrong? What's wrong? Seeing the ring on Minkin Dao Xue's hand shine with light, everyone asked curiously. Mingjian Du Shui took out a ring from his bag and showed the two rings together. Ring of the Jungle Attack, 30/30 mana, 3/0/30 Child of the Forest. Damage plus 100, movement speed plus 100, stealth enhanced. Required profession, rogue, archer level requirement, 30 item description, a treasure of the elves. There are 2 in total. Each player can only wear 1. Ring of the Jungle Attack, 30/30 mana, 3/0/30 Lord of the Jungle. Defense plus 100, attack speed plus 100, critical hit plus 100. Required profession, rogue, archer level requirement, 30 item description, a treasure of the elves. There are 2 in total. Each player can only wear 1. Double set. Wuji and Chun Xiang couldn't help but cry out after seeing the attributes of the 2 rings. Rebirth was a game with a high degree of freedom. There were all kinds of equipment available. Double set was one of them, but there were also sets for 3, 4, and so on. These kinds of sets had very low stats, but when all the players wearing the set were together, there would be special bonuses. However, these things were too special. Normal bosses wouldn't drop them, and the only known way to obtain them was through special quests. During the closed beta period, there was a pair of players who were the first to complete the achievement of getting married. The system rewarded them with a pair of sets called Blissful Union for 100 years. Because of this, there was a wave of marriage, and the closed beta players had a deep impression of it. However, getting married required one to grind for intimacy. Tens of thousands of intimacy points would take at least 2 or 3 months to grind. That was why no one had come up with such a thing, even after a month of open beta. Dao Xue looked at the ring's attributes and threw it back into Baiming Yoyu's hands. Wuji also laughed maliciously. All right, you two are good. This was arranged by the system. Damn you. Dao Xue and Baiming Yoyu's faces darkened. After joking around, everyone looked at the dungeon's progress. There was still one more boss, and the party only had 15 people left. After the Tree of Darkness fell, there was a hole in the tree stump. This was probably the entrance to the last stage. This is the last boss. Be careful, don't get wiped. Wuji reminded them. Compared to the Scarlet Church dungeon, the Sunset Temple was much harder. The first 3 bosses were already so difficult. The last boss will be even more difficult. They had already fought this far. If they got wiped, how disgusting would that be? After entering the entrance, everyone finally arrived at the last stage. The last stage was an extremely luxurious palace. Compared to the previous maps, it was like a completely different world. Moreover, this place had a very extravagant and oriental name: Wine Pool and Meat Forest. The wine pool and meat forest here were quite terrifying. The wine pool was filled with blood, and the meat forest was filled with people. Damn, the instance dungeon designer's taste was really heavy. Fortunately, the game setting could not be too bloody. Otherwise, the restoration of the scene would disgust the players to death. Wine pool and meat forest was not big. It was probably a few times smaller than the previous 3 maps. There are only 2 types of monsters. One was the blood from the wine pool, called Virgin's Blood. It was immune to physical attacks and had strong corrosive abilities. The other was the flesh from the meat forest, called Vampire Zombie. It was immune to magic attacks, and attacks could break through defense. These were 2 extreme types of monsters. If players fought them alone, it would be a headache. However, in front of a well-equipped team, it was not worth it at all. With the tank in front and the DPS at the back, it didn't take long for everyone to clear out all the monsters in Wine Pool and Meat Forest. When they reached the boss, everyone was stunned. They exclaimed, "Damn, this game designer is either an artist or crazy." Chapter 360. At the end of the wine pool was a luxurious bed. On the bed lay a beautiful woman with long breasts and thighs. She was wearing a thin veil, her perfect figure faintly discernible. Logically speaking, debauchery was associated with extravagance and debauchery, so there was nothing wrong with placing a bed and a girl on it. However, the debauchery here was filled with corpses and blood. It was extremely sinister. Placing a beautiful woman in such a sinister environment, where the beautiful were even more beautiful and the ugly were even uglier, was a strong visual impact. Everyone was dumbfounded by the contrast. When they approached the bed, the woman on the bed opened her eyes slightly. Her beautiful eyes were enough to steal one's soul. Bloody Countess, Lilith Dark Gold Boss HP, 600000P, 200000 skills, feed on blood, blood brew, tease, drunken singing. Background introduction. Originally the leader of the blood breed, an expert in brewing wine with blood. After the descent of darkness, she joined the sixth apostle and became his right-hand man. Looking at Lilith's flawless appearance, the pervert Wuji cried out, "I like this game. It'll be even better if there are more bosses like her." Yeah. To place one's pride nodded in agreement. Mingdu asked to place one's pride, "What do you like about her?" To place one's pride, big breasts, was already obsessed with her. Chun Xiang said with disdain, "You really are a child. Let me tell you, a woman should be judged by her waist and her butt." Aya. Before Chun Xiang could finish his sentence, a crossbow bolt was shot at his head, interrupting his words. Chun Xiang raised his head and saw Yang Na fiddling with the crossbow in her hand. Chun Xiang was so frightened that he shivered. "If you talk about something so disrespectful to women again, I'll activate slaughter mode next time," Yang Na said fiercely. Team mode was protected by the system, but slaughter mode attacked indiscriminately. With Yang Na's ability, if slaughter mode was activated, Chun Xiang would probably lose a layer of skin even if he didn't die. Wuji and the rest knew that Yang Na was a man of her word, so they quickly shut up. Chun Xiang shook his head with a straight face and said, "How could I? I respect women the most. Sister, look at my righteous eyes." No one knew if Chun Xiang was righteous or not. In any case, the arrow dangling from his forehead was quite wretched. "Humph!" Yang Na snorted coldly and ignored them. At this time, the boss on the bed also sat up. He moved his body flirtatiously and hooked his finger at Wuji. "Handsome, do you want to have a drink?" I want. Being teased by the bloody queen, Wuji's eyes immediately turned into a heart shape, drooling as he walked over. "Pa!" Yang Na raised her hand and shot the back of Wuji's head. However, Wuji didn't seem to feel anything and continued to walk forward mechanically. This time, everyone could see that something was wrong. Not good. Wuji has been hit. To place one's pride, who was the closest to Wuji cried out and rushed to the back of Wuji to pull Wuji, who knew that Wuji would turn around and swing his staff at to place one's pride's face. 224, there was even damage. As expected, Wuji was controlled. If he wasn't controlled, there wouldn't be any damage even if they were in the same party. To place one's pride was stunned by the attack, but he immediately reacted. He extended his hands forward and used a knee strike to pull Wuji. 881124112245 after 3 rounds of damage. Not only did Wuji not die, he waved his staff and cast a mute spell on to place one's pride. Then he picked up his staff and fought hand-to-hand with to place one's pride. Wuji was helpless at this time. To place one's pride did not dare to kill Wuji even if he was beaten up, so he could only run back. In the end, before he could run 2 steps, Lilith said again, "Little brother, come have a drink with me, okay?" "Okay." Hearing Lilith's voice, to place one's pride's gaze suddenly became exactly the same as Wuji's. His body involuntarily turned around and walked towards Lilith's bed. Damn! Seeing the 2 experts of Chuanjin fighting with the thief, the others quickly retreated a few meters in fear. As the saying goes, a hero's grave in a land of gentleness. In China's traditional view, it was not shameful to be beaten to death. It was shameful to die on the stomach. Of course, life was not important in the game. If there was such treatment, there was no harm in trying to clear the game. However, in such a situation, the shameless system would definitely not allow players to die on the boss's stomach. They could only die in the hands of their own teammates. What do we do now? Seeing that Wuji and to place one's pride were getting closer to the Bloody Queen, Wang Yu asked the others. If it was any other time, Wang Yu would definitely rush forward to pull them back. However, after seeing to place one's pride's ending, Wang Yu immediately held back his thoughts. The Wang family was an ancient aristocratic family. Wang Yu had been instilled with traditional thoughts since young. Although he was not as extreme as having a preference for males over females, he would rather be killed than be obsessed with lust. At this moment, Mingdu said, "Brother Chun, control them. Drag it out for as long as you can." Mingdu's thought process was correct. If the two of them really climbed onto the boss's bed, they would definitely be in danger. In a game, a single second could change the outcome of the battle. If they really dragged it out for a few seconds, they might really be able to think of a way to get them back. All right, Chun Xiang replied and threw a dark barrier in front of the two of them. When the two of them stepped into the range of the barrier, they were immediately frozen in place. F***CK, I can't control my body anymore. I can't even speak. Wuji had just been frozen in place when he started to shout in the group channel. F***CK. Could it be that if I control you, you can regain control of your body? Chun Xiang said in surprise. Even Chun Xiang did not expect his dark barrier to have such an effect. That should be the case. Hurry up and save us. Before Wuji could finish his sentence, the dark barrier's effect had already worn off. The two of them walked step by step towards the bed. At this moment, the two of them were only a few meters away from the boss. F***CK. How do we get them back? Chun Xiang was also depressed. Although the control skill could temporarily wake the two of them up, the immobilizing effect only lasted for a few seconds. Moreover, the cooldown time and the activation time were not short. This was simply treating the symptoms, but not the root cause. It was purely a waste of mana and time. Wang Yu thought for a moment and said, "Brother Chun, your dark barrier can be used to immobilize people, right?" "Yes." "Why?" Chun Xiang nodded. He was very puzzled as to why Wang Yu would ask such a question. "If we immobilize them, then we can let the two of them regain control of their bodies. What if we can stun them?" Wang Yu asked again. Stun versus stun. Chapter 361. Everyone was a veteran in the game and had a good understanding of crowd control effects. Out of all the crowd control skills, the stun and knockback effects were definitely the most powerful. Immobilize could only restrict the target's movement. Stun could not only immobilize the target, but it could also interrupt skills. Since the dark barrier could immobilize the two, it meant that the boss's control was not very powerful. After the dark barrier disappeared, the two continued to move forward, which meant that the boss's skill effect was still active. Therefore, the stun effect could definitely interrupt the boss's skill. At this time, Wuji and to place one's pride had already climbed onto the boss's bed. The Bloody Countess smiled sweetly and revealed her fangs, reaching out to grab the two. At this time, Mingji and Daoxue and North Ciyu had already charged behind Wuji and to place one's pride with quickness and used gouge on the back of the two's heads. Wang, as a stunned symbol appeared above their heads. Wuji and North Ciyu woke up from the temptation. The Bloody Countess' hands had already reached their necks and was about to bite them. In the blink of an eye, Mingji and Daoxue quickly moved behind the Bloody Countess and stabbed his dagger into the back of the Countess' neck. North Ciyu also rushed forward and stabbed the boss's face with her dagger. Seeing the boss's beautiful face get stabbed, the other sighed. Damn, these two really don't know how to show mercy to the fairer sex. The female boss was also a female, and all females valued their looks more than their lives. North Ciyu's extremely immoral behavior had completely enraged the Bloody Countess. The Bloody Countess tilted her head and dodged the dagger. She waved her hands, and a pink light flew out in a 180-degree arc. The three people standing in front of the Bloody Countess were immediately hit, and a bubble symbol appeared above their heads. The three of them seemed to have lost their balance as they stumbled and fell into a ball. Mingji and Daoxue saw that the boss was so powerful. After stabbing the boss, he turned to run. The Bloody Countess turned around and shouted, "Handsome, come and have a drink with me." Hearing this, Mingjian Daoshue's body trembled. Just like Wuji in North Sea Yoyu, he involuntarily walked towards the boss. Knock her out! Chun Xiang hurriedly gave the order. Yin Lao, heir, charged forward and smashed the back of the bloody countess' head with his shield bash. Ming Jiandao, Shui woke up and quickly went into stealth. The boss was partially immune to crowd control. In less than a second, the stun effect on Yin Lao heir had disappeared. The bloody countess turned around, and a red light flashed. A bubble appeared on Yin Lao heir's head, and he collapsed to the ground. Oh my god! Seeing that Yin Lao heir had also been defeated, the others were incomparably shocked. Everyone knew how ferocious the people from the Quanjun sect were. In the blink of an eye, they had already killed 4 people. Even Wuji was killed. It could be seen that although this boss looked weak, its strength was much stronger than the previous 3 stages. What the F*CK is that? Apart from being shocked, the most curious thing was the skill that the Bloody Countess had used. The control effects in the game were represented by different symbols. For example, for the fear effect, there would be a skull above the player's head. For the stun effect, there would be a mosquito coil above the player's head. But what was this bubble? It's a heavily drunk state. Baosan said confidently. Heavily drunk state is also a control effect. The others were even more shocked. They were no strangers to the drunk state. As a holographic simulation game, the settings in the game were very realistic. Even the senses could be simulated. Those who frequented pubs would know that if they drank too much, they would feel slightly dizzy. Once they felt this way, the system would issue a warning that they had entered the drunk state. Everyone was here to play the game, and no one was willing to spend money to get drunk in the game. Therefore, although everyone knew about the effects of the drunk state, very few people would actually get drunk. It was even more unexpected that the drunk state could be used as a control effect. Baosan was different. Wuji was more of a greedy person. Once someone treated him to a meal, he would not leave until he was drunk. As his brother, Baosan naturally had to clean up after him. Over time, he had a better understanding of the heavily drunk state. This is not going to be easy. Everyone watched as the bloody countess grabbed Yin Lao heir's head and bit it. Their hearts sank. This woman was too cruel. She could control the players from afar with a shout, and when she got close, she could make everyone drunk. This kind of boss that could control the whole time was the most annoying. Moreover, the bloody countess's attack skills could also life-steal. Yin Lao heir had been bitten twice, and the HP that she had lost to Mingjian Daoshue had obviously recovered. Damn, is this woman invincible? Baosan sighed. No, there is no such thing as an invincible boss. It's not that there is no way to deal with this boss, Chun Xiang said, shaking his head. Oh, Brother Chun, do you have a way? Everyone turned to look at Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang was Chuanjin's number 2 strategist. Chun Xiang said, didn't you guys notice that this boss's skills can only be used on a target? So if someone pulls her away, we can attack her from behind. Yeah, long-range attacks can pull her away, Bao San said excitedly as he pointed at the boss on the bed. Mingdu said, don't talk nonsense. This boss's control range is even further than Sister Snow's. We'll be controlled by her. Just then, Wuji was not close to the bloody countess's bed. If he could control her from so far away, then the boss's control range was quite terrifying. Damn, then isn't Brother Chun talking nonsense? Baosan looked at Chun Xiang with disdain. Chun Xiang spread his hands, expressing his helplessness. They had thought of a solution, but how to implement it became a problem. Just as everyone was at their wits' end, Yang Na said coldly, "Humph, you stinky men. You always act like this when you see women. Now you've learned your lesson." Faced with Yang Na's accusation, everyone fell silent. Wang Yu rubbed his chin and asked Yang Na, "Oh, you don't like women, right?" "Of course, I'm not a monster." Yang Na was furious. She did not like being treated as a lesbian. "That's right." Wang Yu then said, "Then you can attack her. She won't flirt with you, right?" Yang Na was stunned. "You want me to lure her away?" "That's right." Wang Yu nodded and said, "You go and pull her away. We'll attack her from behind." "That makes sense." Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone cheered. Yang Na was a woman. No matter how shameless the system was, it would not do something as senseless as attracting people of the same sex. But Yang Na hesitated. What if the system really had such a bad taste? What? Unless he... Wang Yu laughed and looked at Yang Na playfully. Chapter 362. Reeks, a control-type boss, would not have high attack. While everyone was discussing their strategy, the Bloody Countess had yet to bite Yin Lao Air to death. Of course, Yin Lao Air had high HP and defense. Against an attack-type boss, 2 or 3 rounds would not be enough to kill him. Even so, a few bites from the boss were not good for Yin Lao Air. Now, Yin Lao Air had less than 10% of his HP left. He could not take the last bite. Bang, bang, bang. Just as the Bloody Countess was about to bite Yin Lao Air to death, Yang Na had already run under the Bloody Countess bed. She raised the crossbow in her hand, and 3 crossbow bolts flew out one after another, hitting the Bloody Countess' nose and proud breasts respectively. Wang Yu felt a chill in his heart. He turned to Chun Xiang and asked, "She did it on purpose, didn't she?" Chun Xiang looked at Yang Na, gestured at his chest, and nodded vigorously, yes. This woman was quite conflicted when compared to her own beautiful male companion. Fortunately, she had a natural resistance. These 3 places were where female bosses attracted the most aggro. After Yang Na shot the Bloody Countess, the Countess dropped Yin Lao Air and turned to attack Yang Na. However, when she saw Yang Na, she was stunned. "Beauty, come and have a drink with me." After being stunned for a while, the Bloody Countess finally said such a funny line. Yang Na was shocked when she heard this, and hurriedly took a few steps back. Only then did Yang Na realize that the Bloody Countess trick did not work on her at all. It was rare for the system to be kind for once. Seeing the Bloody Countess trying to hit on a girl, Wang Yu and the others were also shocked. After seeing that it did not work, everyone calmed down. "Go and set up an ambush. Later, we'll attack from behind." Chun Xiang commanded everyone to surround the other side of the bed. Once the Bloody Countess jumped off the bed, they would attack from behind. However, the Bloody Countess seemed to know everyone's plan. She refused to get off the bed no matter what. Yang Na stood under the bed. As she moved, she raised her crossbow and exchanged blows with the Bloody Countess. Yu won. The Bloody Countess' basic attack was a small bat, which had a very long range. So, Yang Na gave up on the idea of kiting the monster. Although the Bloody Countess' bed was quite big, there were nearly 10 men waiting to sleep on it. The Bloody Countess' bed was a little crowded. Moreover, the Bloody Countess was standing in a very good position. It was the golden dividing point on the bed. Blood Brew's 180-degree skill covered the space in front of her. If they rushed forward rashly, they would all be wiped out. At this moment, the Bloody Countess was standing on the bed. One woman guarding the pass. No one dared to approach her. She was just short of shouting, "Don't even think about getting on my bed." The group of men sighed and said with a sense of guilt, "Sister Shui, you can fight by yourself. We will be your cheerleaders." Yang Na looked at the crowd in disdain. She activated her movement technique and increased the frequency of her attacks. Under the same flight speed, the closer the distance, the faster the speed of the arrow. Yang Na had always liked to shoot people at close range. Now that she was standing in front of the Bloody Countess, her shooting speed was almost at its highest. The arrows did not stop flying, and the Bloody Countess' HP kept dropping. When the Bloody Countess' HP dropped to 80, the Countess gave up on fighting Yang Na. She took a step back, grabbed Yin Lao Air, who was lying on the bed, and bit him. Yin Lao Air did not have much HP left. After being bitten by the Bloody Countess, he turned into light and disappeared. The Bloody Countess' HP rose to 90. Then, she grabbed Northern Siyu, who was lying on the ground, and bit her. A third of Northern Siyu's HP was gone, and the Bloody Countess' HP recovered to 100. Everyone was speechless. "Damn, this boss has stored up blood food. We can't go on like this." Chun Xiang frowned. "We have to get her down, or else Wu Ji and the others will die." Wang Yu pointed at Mingdu and recommended, "We have to look for Mingdu." Mingdu had a skill that he often used to switch positions. After all, in front of Wang Yu, Mingdu had killed many people. Mingdu said hesitantly. It's not hard to get her down, but I'm afraid she'll seduce me. Don't worry about that. The boss would rather be killed than seduce you. Wang Yu's expression was very serious. How do you know? Mingdu was very confused by Wang Yu's words. Wang Yu said, Looks. Mingdu's image was indeed not good. He was standing in front of Wuji, but the boss had seduced Wuji. F*CKU. Mingdu was furious. Ha, I'm just kidding. Wang Yu laughed. We're not on the boss's aggro list right now, and the other party's aggro is stable. You just have to find a right time to sneak attack. Aren't you the best at sneak attacks? That's true, Mingdu said proudly. Everyone spread out and stand properly. I'll get her down later. Hearing this, the others obediently hid to the side. At that moment, the bloody countess and Yang Na started fighting again. Mingdu saw the opportunity and pointed his staff at the bloody countess. The bloody countess was switched under the bed. Focus fire. The others were hiding behind the bloody countess. After Mingdu finished casting his skill, the others did not wait for the bloody countess to react and attacked her from behind. Yu 3. The bloody countess was shocked. She wanted to turn around, but Wang Yu stretched out his arms and grabbed the boss from behind. Chun Xiang also cast Dark Barrier to help Wang Yu control the boss. After learning Death Coil, Chun Xiang now had a total of 2 crowd control skills. Both skills had a duration of 8 seconds, and the boss was immune to crowd control. Therefore, Chun Xiang's Dark Barrier and Death Coil had an effect of 3.5 seconds on the bloody countess. Coupled with Wang Feather's Knee Strike and Ferocious Tiger Strike, the two of them could use their crowd control skills together. Knee Strike, Dark Barrier, Death Coil, Tiger Strike. Wang Yu and Chun Xiang used their 4 skills one after another and firmly controlled the bloody countess under the bed. What amazing coordination! Little One looked at Chun Xiang and Wang Yu's flawless coordination and was so shocked that he could not close his mouth. Wang Yu and Little One's skills had a duration of 10 seconds, and the bloody countess was the most difficult crowd control boss to deal with. If the two of them made a mistake in their coordination, the bloody countess would be able to turn the tables. As such, the two's tolerance for mistakes was so low that it made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 363. The bloody countess was only wearing a thin veil. Under the control of Wang Yu and Chun Xiang, her graceful figure swayed left and right. She panted softly, causing the animals to become restless. Damn it! Why didn't I play as a grandmaster of combat? Mingdu slapped himself. He finally understood the benefits of having short hands. For example, right now, Wang Yu could openly grope the bloody countess' body without being looked down upon. If a mage dared to do this, he would probably not be looked down upon. The system would probably drag him to hell. Stabbing a beautiful NPC with a broken stick was too indecent. Of course, although these guys were behaving like animals, they weren't brainless. They weren't as despicable as NPCs. Their attacks weren't the slightest bit careless. The bloody countess' HP plummeted under everyone's attacks. Very quickly, it fell to 30%. Chun Xiang threw out a dark barrier and reminded everyone, "Be careful, the boss is about to unleash an ultimate skill." Haha, everyone must be tired. Let's have a drink. As soon as Chun Xiang finished speaking, the bloody countess laughed. Then, a red area suddenly appeared on the ground within a 500-meter radius around her. The red area was exactly the same as the wine pool in the map. It was filled with purple bubbles and emitted a strange fragrance surrounding the boss. At the same time, a status appeared on the bloody countess. Singing drunk. The brewer Lilith uses her blood to create a drunken aura with a 500-meter radius. All targets within the aura will enter a drunken state. Just now, Wang Yu and Chun Xiang had the bloody countess under control. Therefore, in order to pursue the fastest attack speed and efficiency, everyone was not far from the bloody countess. In the end, the moment the bloody countess activated her ultimate skill, everyone except for Mingdu, who could teleport, and the agile Yang Na were trapped. Wang Yu was especially frustrated. When the boss zoomed in, Wang Yu thought that the boss was going to use super armor. He even wanted to use his knee to break super armor. In the end, he could have escaped, but he was trapped by the boss' ultimate skill. After being trapped by the Bloody Countess' ultimate skill, a bubble symbol appeared above everyone's head. They entered a heavily intoxicated state, and a large number of people lay on the ground. Only Mingdu and Yangna were left in the party. You still have 30 HP. Attack her. Between Mingdu and Yangna, one was a burst damage dealer, while the other was a continuous damage dealer. Neither of them were crowd control classes. At this time, apart from attacking the Bloody Countess, the two of them could not think of a better way to deal with her. After all, both sides were basically like arrows at the end of their flight. They were competing to see who would die first. Who knew? They might even kill the boss before the team was annihilated. The two of them threw their spells and arrows at the Countess without any regard for their lives. The Bloody Countess did not dodge, allowing the spells and skills to hit her. Then, she gently grabbed the air with her right hand, and Bloody Bomb flew into her hand. Bloody Bomb seemed to still have some consciousness. He knew that the boss was going to attack him, so he waved his arms and legs and struggled. However, with his weak body, struggling was of no use. The Bloody Countess bit Bloody Bomb's neck, and his HP increased by 10. With another bite, Bloody Bomb turned into a white light, and the Countess' HP recovered to around 45. F***CK. Seeing the Bloody Countess shamelessly recovering her HP, Mingdu and Yang Na were almost in despair. There were so many people lying on the ground, and the Countess still had the energy to recover 10 HP in one bite. How long would this instance dungeon take? Not to mention the thick-skinned warriors. Wang Yu had automatic HP recovery. If the boss knew what was meant by sustainable development, who could afford to waste time on her? Perhaps she heard the thoughts of the two of them. After the Countess killed Bloody Bomb, she turned her head and looked at Wang Yu. Just now, it was Wang Yu who put his life on the line to control the boss. He scratched and touched the Countess back, taking advantage of her. It was normal for the boss to have high aggro against him. What a strong man. The Countess smiled and grabbed at the air. Wang Yu also flew into the Countess' hand. The Countess looked at Wang Yu and licked her lips with her bright red tongue. She opened her mouth and bit him. F***CK. Seeing the boss bite Wang Yu, Mingdu's heart sank. Although it was scary for Wang Yu to be treated as food, to Mingdu, it was even scarier for the boss to kill Wang Yu. Although the people in Xuanzhen were all experts, after hanging out with Wang Yu for a long time, they naturally felt a sense of reliance on such a powerful monster. Therefore, the people in Xuanzhen instinctively felt that no matter how dangerous the situation was, as long as Wang Yu did not die, they would be able to turn the tables. If Wang Yu died, then their last hope would be gone. Bang! However, just as the Countess' teeth were about to bite Wang Yu's neck, Wang Yu's body suddenly flipped, dodging the teeth and lying on the Countess' chest. Then, Wang Yu's head suddenly slammed into the Countess' face, and the Countess fell back. 1246, 8 damage number floated up above the Bloody Countess' head. Wang Yu had also lost her footing and was lying on the ground. The Countess was stunned on the spot. In a drunken state, players could not even stand properly, but this guy had dodged her attack and even hit her. This was too strange. Fortunately, the Bloody Countess's intelligence was not low. If she had been one of those semi-intelligent bosses, she would have crashed in this strange situation. Damn it. The Countess came back to her senses and shouted angrily. She reached out to grab Wang Yu again, who was lying on the ground like a pile of mud. The Countess tried to bite Wang Yu again, but Wang Yu twisted his body and dodged again. He turned around and slapped the Countess. Slap! 2145, damn it! The Countess pushed Wang Yu to the ground. Wang Yu was like a roly-poly doll, with both hands on the ground, and with a push, both legs kicked back, and Thunder Stomp landed on the Countess' face. 52-14, damn it. The Countess was kicked a few steps back, and then she roared and pounced on Yi Si. It was not that the boss liked to argue, but if a female boss was slapped, the aggro would definitely be higher than if her chest was touched. Unfortunately, the Bloody Countess was a delicate magic-controlling boss. It was indeed difficult for her to fight hand-to-hand with Wang Yu. Wang Yu stumbled a few steps forward with drowsy eyes and crashed into the bloody Countess' arms. She grabbed the bloody Countess' wrist with one hand and the bloody Countess' throat with the other. 75-12, a huge critical hit appeared above the bloody Countess' head. Chapter 364. Reeks. After a few moves, the bloody Countess had a taste of Wang Yu's strength. She quickly turned around to deal with the others. However, Wang Yu lost his support and fell to the ground again. He hugged the bloody Countess' thigh tightly and buried his head in the ground as if he had fallen asleep. Seeing this, the bloody Countess was overjoyed. She reached out to attack, but Wang Yu turned his head and spun like a spinning top. He kicked the bloody Countess' face a few times, then leaned forward and hugged the bloody Countess' thigh again. The bloody Countess could neither run nor hit her. She was on the verge of breaking down. Both her hands were attacking Wang Yu without any pattern or technique. However, Wang Yu did not panic. He swayed back and forth. Although he seemed to be in a difficult situation, he was still able to dodge the boss attacks and counterattack. 2-1-5-4-4-1-2-5-4-5-6-8. A string of numbers floated above the boss' head. Even in a drunken state, Wang Yu's attacks were still so accurate and so efficient. It was truly amazing. What the hell is going on? Even Mingdu, who was often with Wang Yu, was dumbfounded. Damn, he could still fight the boss in this state. Was he really drunk or just pretending to be drunk? Yang Na watched as Wang Yu moved up and down, hitting the bloody Countess so hard that she could not even defend herself. She said in surprise, "It's the drunken fist. I didn't expect such a fist technique to exist." Drunken fist? Mingdu was at a loss. If he lived in the last century, Mingdu would naturally know about the drunken fist. However, a century had passed, and the kung fu had become a legend. Ordinary people would not know of such a fist technique. Yes, it's a very powerful fist technique, the kind that doesn't follow a set pattern. Combined with the Wang family's 9 revolutions chain, it's a very powerful kung fu. Yang Na explained. See that? This is called wrist-grabbing chest, and this is called waist-slashing toast. Yang Na would call out the name of every move that Wang Yu used on the bloody Countess. Yu won. Although the drunken fist technique was rarely used, Yang Na still knew a little about it. Now that she saw Wang Yu use it, she also matched the names of the moves with their names. Mingdu was a complete amateur of martial arts. Seeing Yang Na spouting nonsense with a face full of excitement, Mingdu only had one sentence in his mind. What the hell is this nonsense? While the two of them were talking, Wang Yu, who was lying on the ground, kicked her legs and passed through the bloody Countess' crotch. She arrived behind her and grabbed one of the bloody Countess' legs. With a drag and pull, the bloody Countess fell to the ground. Mingdu exclaimed excitedly, "I know this move." "Oh, is that so? What's this move called?" Yang Na asked curiously. To be honest, Wang Yu's move was rather strange, and Yang Na could not find a corresponding move. She did not expect that a layman like Mingdu would also know about it. "Ask the old man to push the cart," Mingdu said proudly. F***CKU. Yang Na raised her crossbow, and a few arrows shot at Mingdu's face. It seemed that this girl was not very pure. The bloody Countess did not have much HP to begin with. As a control boss, her attack and defense were not her strong points. After being dragged, thrown, and kicked by Wang Yu, she was finally freed from the nightmare. Her HP was emptied, and she reported back to the system god. With the bloody Countess dead, everyone's drunken state was instantly lifted. Everyone got up from the ground and looked at Wang Yu, who was sitting on the boss's corpse, in horror. "Were you really drunk just now?" After getting drunk, players would only lose control of their bodies. They wouldn't be able to speak in the channel, but they would still be conscious. Everyone had witnessed Wang Yu's drunken abuse of the boss. Wang Yu nodded and rubbed his head. He had hit the boss's chest with his head several times. TSK, this guy is really hard to deal with. Everyone was amazed. It was fine if the paralysis was ineffective, But even a control skill like the drunken state was ineffective. Could it be that this guy could reverse the control settings of a system? How was it? How'd it feel? Chun Xiang asked wretchedly after the surprise. You too. Drunken Fist was a very shameless skill. Wang Yu had thrown himself at the bloody countess and was no different from a drunken pervert. It's all right, the system did a good job at simulating it, Wang Yu said honestly. After hearing Wang Yu's words, Chun Xiang asked Wang Yu seriously, Brother Iron Ox, do you think I can still learn martial arts at my age? You can. Wang Yu said, 30 years old is the age when one's fists and kicks are the fiercest. It's suitable to learn some fierce fist techniques. I wonder if Brother Iron Ox's fist technique is fierce. Wang Yu sweated profusely. Damn, you're not learning martial arts to take advantage of others, are you? Of course not. I'm a righteous person. I'm learning martial arts to strengthen my body, to help the weak, and to bring glory to our martial arts. Chun Xiang said seriously. F***ck off. When Wang Yu heard Chun Xiang's words, he knew that Chun Xiang was lying to him. After rejecting Mingdu, to place one's pride and Wuji, Wang Yu pointed at the boss and asked, Who wants to touch her? Master, you first, of course. Everyone said in unison. It seemed that in order to please Wang Yu, they had gone all out. After learning Drunken Fist, he could touch any girl, and this one would not make a difference. Wang Yu, who had been treated as a pervert, shook his head and started searching the bloody countess' body. The bloody countess was indeed the boss that almost wiped them out. She was quite generous. The first item that Wang Yu looted was an equipment. It was a ferocious-looking mask. It was a head-type defensive equipment. Evil God's Mask EU 3 Physical Defense, 2237 Magic Resistance, 4060 Vitality, 15 Spirit, 20 Blood, increases lifesteal by 25 Unholy Domination, increases movement speed by 2 after hitting an enemy target. Stackable 0100 God's Fear, decreases movement speed by 2 after hitting an enemy target. Stackable 0100 Evil God's Power, user and summon creatures, all attributes 15 special effect. When Unholy Domination and God's Fear are stacked 100 times, the Drunken effect will be triggered. Drunken. The drunken target will lose balance for a period of time. The drunken effect can be overridden by other control effects. Required class. Warlock required level. 25 item description. The mask that the bloody countess carries with her. It looks simple, but contains immense power. This is the only equipment. Chapter 365. Lifesteal was a very rare attribute, especially for archers and assassins who relied on their attack speed. It was simply a godly attribute. The 25 lifesteal attribute was so powerful that it could guarantee the survival of a high-damage class, even if it was closed in. Not only could it save potions and money, it could even turn the tide of a battle. The lifesteal attribute, coupled with the speed reduction of the enemy and the user, would be enough to kite any class to death, not to mention the terrifying drunken skill. The first item was a unique item. Old Cow's luck is really unparalleled. Wait, why is it a warlock item? Seeing the first item drop, everyone was overjoyed, especially the archers and thieves. When they saw the evil god's mask's attributes, they couldn't help but drool. However, when they saw the property requirement, their expressions changed. Damn, this is actually a warlock item. Warlocks were the class with the lowest physical attack and the slowest attack speed among all the classes that had reincarnated. They were a typical control-type class, and their main damage output was neither physical nor magic attacks, but poison attacks. Therefore, whether it was physical lifesteal or magic lifesteal, it was completely useless on a warlock. With the warlock's ink force, 100 stacks of stacks wouldn't be able to stack even after a long time. This equipment class requirement was that of a warlock. It was a complete waste of God's gifts. Even if it was given to a warrior, it would still be better than a warlock. Everyone looked at the item in disbelief, and after confirming that the requirement was indeed a warlock, they could only helplessly accept this reality. The animals in Xuanzhen shook their heads and said gloomily, Old Cow's luck is as bad as always. He finally got an exquisite item, but it's trash. This thing can't be sold for much money, right? Chun Xiang asked Mingji and Dao Xue. Dao Xue said with a pained expression, "Apart from those tycoons who like to collect equipment, I don't think anyone would buy it. It's already good enough to sell it for a few gold coins. Damn, why is it a warlock item? With the current prices, an archer's equipment could be sold for 500 gold coins. If it was an assassin's equipment, the price could double. However, it just had to be a warlock item. A single requirement for a warlock item turned an exquisite item into trash." Mingji and Dao Xue, who loved equipment as much as his life, felt his heart ache. "Then I'll take it. Does anyone have any objections?" Chun Xiang asked. Take it." Everyone expressed that they didn't care. Chun Xiang had fought the boss as both a tank and a crowd controller. He had even deciphered the traps at crucial moments. He had only taken a piece of trash along the way. Everyone felt bad about it, so when he suggested taking this mask, no one objected. After Chun Xiang took the equipment, everyone urged continue. "Old Cow, you have to put in more effort. Don't make trouble. I'll try my best." Wang Yu wiped the sweat off his forehead. Every time he looted, it was like gambling. It was too exciting. After searching for a while, Wang Yu pulled out a necklace. Twilight Glory Attack, 40-50 mana, 40-50 Strength, 15 Physique, 20 Show Off, Active Skill. Taunt all targets within a 500-meter radius, forcing the target to attack you. Class Requirement, Universal Level Requirement. 1 Twilight Set, 13 Twilight Shield, 0-1 Twilight Glory, 11 Twilight Leap, 0-1 Set Properties. Item Description: a gift from Twilight God to the Bloody Countess as a token of love. Needless to say, the last piece of the Twilight set was bought by Ian II. However, the introduction of this piece of equipment ignited the flames of gossip among the players. Was the Twilight God sucked dry by the Bloody Countess? That woman is vicious indeed. Vulgar Representative Chun Xiang expressed his unique opinion. Wuji sneered, "That woman is vicious, but Twilight God is not a good person either." "What do you mean?" everyone asked curiously. Wuji said disdainfully, "Look at the skill of this necklace. Old Cow, are you willing to let your wife be beaten up?" Hiss, it seems that the Bloody Countess and Twilight God are a couple. Chun Xiang took a deep breath. "Why do you say that?" Everyone was confused. "You'll know after you get married," Chun Xiang said solemnly. The Twilight Glory made everyone excited about Wang Yu's luck. Wang Yu continued to loot the necklace for the third time. Skill: transform into the Bloody Countess. Have a certain chance to charm all male targets within sight. Class requirement: none. Charm was also a type of control state. Like fear, it caused the target to lose control of their body. It was extremely powerful, especially at this range. It was too brutal within the field of vision. Fortunately, this was a skill with a chance. Otherwise, male players wouldn't be able to play this game. Seeing this skill, a smirk appeared on the faces of all the animals. "Give it to Sister Xue." Before Wang Yu could say anything, Mingdu began to urge Yang Na. Yang Na's face darkened. "I don't want it." "Why?" Wang Yu was puzzled. It was such a practical skill. Just now, Yang Na had used this skill to kill a group of Chuanjin players. It could make anyone pregnant, but Yang Na did not want it. Yang Na blushed. "I'd rather die than become like that." "Oh." Wang Yu touched his chin. Just now, the Bloody Countess had been dressed quite indecently. Yang Na was a member of an aristocratic family. "Do you guys want it?" Wang Yu asked the Scarlet Great Wall. They hadn't gotten anything on their way here. The skill description was quite lame, but it was still a good thing. "Forget it. We can't afford to embarrass ourselves." The Scarlet Great Wall shook its head. Although they hadn't gotten much from this dungeon run, the Blood Alliance was big and didn't lack such things. However, if a man transformed into a naked girl and went to someone else, it wouldn't just be the Scarlet Great Wall losing face. "Then I'll take it," Little One said weakly. Wang Yu was stunned. "Are you sure?" "Yes, is 100 gold enough?" Little One asked. "Yes, 100 gold for you." Famous Sword Dao Xue said. After Little One paid, he immediately learned the skill. Mingdu looked at it and was excited. Let me see you transform. Little one's face turned red, and he activated the skill, turning into the Bloody Countess. Mingdo walked over to touch it and said, "It's really not bad." He then reprimanded Wu Ji. "Wu Ji, look at them, then look at yourself. You don't know how to help your brothers at all." When Yang Na heard this, her pretty face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. "Just now you asked me to learn this thing. Was it for this?" Mingdu was so scared that his neck shrunk, and he hurriedly said, "No, I'm not that kind of person." Chapter 366. The last thing Wang Yu looted was a tattered piece of paper. It was a recipe. Brew. A recipe for brewing fine wine. Another strange item. Old Cow's smelly hands really do live up to his name. After seeing the brew recipe, everyone sighed. Wang Yu was a person who did not follow the rules. The items he looted were also unpredictable. Recipes in Rebirth were usually potion recipes, which were in high demand by players. They could be sold for a good price in the market. Things like brewing wine were purely for entertainment and had no commercial value. Wang Yu had even managed to get her hands on such a thing, which meant that she had a lot of connections. "Does anyone like it?" Wang Yu asked as he waved the recipe around. Everyone said disdainfully, "You can keep this for yourself." "All right, if no one wants it, I'll take it." Wang Yu saw that everyone was scoffing at the recipe, so he stuffed it into his bag. Ever since Wang Yu had made a fortune with the intermediate health potion, Wang Yu placed a lot of importance on recipes. Even if others could not use it, it did not mean that he could not. Didn't he have a shop? Even if he opened a tavern, he could still make a lot of money. After looting the equipment, the system sent a notification. Sunset Shrine held difficulty completed. Well, load of nonsense. The Sunset Temple did not have any hidden stages. After defeating the last boss, their completion rate rose to 100. When everyone was teleported out of the dungeon, they received a large amount of experience and a dark gold treasure chest. Although the Setting Sun Shrine was a level 25 dungeon, the hell mode of the dungeon's difficulty was the same as a level 50 dungeons. Moreover, the dungeon's completion rate was 100%, allowing everyone to level up once. Wang Yu was already close to level 28. After exiting the dungeon, her experience bar skyrocketed to the point that it reached 100%. Wang Yu impatiently opened the treasure chest. This was an unexpected surprise. He was originally still missing 2 smelting stones. Now, he no longer had to go to the arena. The people of the Quanjun sect did not seem to like the arena. Therefore, Wang Yu had been looked down upon by these people in the arena for the past few days. After returning to Yu Huicheng, Wang Yu went to the instructor's office to submit his mission. "Teacher, I have completed the investigation according to your instructions." Wang Yu followed the system's instructions and handed over the dungeon record to Hermit. "Oh, so that's how it is. No wonder. I have to go and discuss with those old fellows about countermeasures." After handing over the quest, Hermit mumbled to himself before tossing Wang Yu some EXP and a piece of trash bronze equipment gifted by the system. "Is there anything else?" After handing over the quest, Hermit licked the bottle of wine and asked Wang Yu, who hadn't left yet. Wang Yu thought for a moment, then took out the recipe he had obtained from the dungeon and handed it to Hermit, saying, "Teacher, I found this in the dungeon. I don't know if you'll be able to use it." After all, he had been in the game for almost a month. Wang Yu could be considered to have gotten used to it. He knew that he could only obtain benefits if he had a high favorability with NPCs. And the most direct way to increase favorability was to give gifts. The AI NPCs in Rebirth all had different hobbies. Apart from gold coins, Old Hermit's favorite thing was wine. If he could help cheat on a bottle of wine, then a recipe for brewing wine would squeeze out his marrow. This is the Demon Lilith's recipe for brewing wine. When Old Hermit saw the recipe in Wang Yu's hands, his eyes lit up. He pounced in front of Wang Yu and snatched the recipe. As expected, this old fellow knew what was good for him. Wang Yu nodded. "Teacher, do you like it?" Hermit beamed with joy, saying, "Kid, you're really not bad. You still think of me. I didn't dote on you for nothing. Not bad, not bad." Wang Yu was depressed. Don't just praise me with words. Can't you give me something real? Right, I think it's pretty good too. That's why I thought of you immediately. Wang Yu came over and looked at Hermit eagerly. He almost opened his mouth to ask for something. Not bad, not bad. Old Hermit continued to pretend that he didn't see it. So, teacher, shouldn't you also give me something? Wang Yu saw Hermit's expression and knew that this old man was thick-skinned and wanted to refuse the reward. So he took the initiative to bring it up. Yes, yes, what do you want? Hermit asked Wang Yu with a smile. Give me whatever I want. Wang Yu asked back. Iron Ox, do you know that you become bad? Old Hermit sighed and took out a skill book and handed it to Wang Yu. Wine Immortal, a powerful martial skill passed down from ancient times. Using the power of drunkenness, it can increase one's various attributes. Wang Yu received the skill book and learned it on the spot. This wasn't because Wang Yu couldn't wait to learn the skill, but because Wang Yu didn't trust Hermit at all. With this old man's character, he might just give him some garbage. It was best to learn it first, so that he wouldn't turn hostile and deny it later. This time, old Hermit really didn't lie. The Wine Immortal skill was really not bad. Wine Immortal, Drunken Mountain Gate. Drunken State increases movement speed by 20, increases attack and defense by 15. Debridement and blood regeneration. Drink to remove the poison and virus effects on the target. Although these two skills were both buffs and support skills, their effects were quite strong. How is it? Not bad, right? This is my ultimate skill. If it weren't for your intelligence, I wouldn't be willing to teach it to you. Hermit boasted as he hugged the bottle of wine. Not bad, not bad, Wang Yu said with satisfaction. The gift this time was not given for nothing. The only thing that could increase attack, defense, and movement speed in Rebirth were potions, and the only thing that could cure poison was antidotes. Potions and antidotes were much more expensive than potions. With his skill, he only needed to carry a few bottles of wine with him. Of course, high-end wine wasn't cheap, but it was just a skill. A cup of wine for a copper or a cup of wine for a gold would have the same effect. After learning the skill, Wang Yu was about to find a place to train when his notification bar suddenly flashed. The message was from Blueberry Chick. Isn't Nyoga going to play in the arena today? Didn't Bro say that leveling is the way to go? Playing in the arena is a waste of time. Wang Yu lectured. At the same time, Wang Yu was quite puzzled. This girl was usually very boring. If he was playing in the arena, he would be the one asking her to join his team. Why did she suddenly ask him? Could it be that she couldn't find anyone? Oh, Blueberry replied with an oh, and didn't say anything else. Wang Yu felt that it was quite ungentlemanly to reject a girl like this, so he scratched his head and replied, If you're short of people, I can go too. Yes, Blueberry Chick replied concisely. Wang Yu was speechless. He slapped himself in the face. What a cheap mouth. He was looking for trouble for himself. Wait for me. I'll be there soon. Although he blamed himself, Wang Yu was a man of his word. After replying to Blueberry, he walked towards the arena. Chapter 367. Reeks. When Wang Yu arrived at the arena, 7 Blueberry's online status showed that they were busy. It seemed like a new match had started. So Wang Yu stood at their usual spot and waited patiently for Blueberries to come out. A few minutes later, a white light flashed, and a warrior was teleported in front of Wang Yu. The warrior's expression was rather ugly, and he cursed, F***CK, the team with the highest win rate. This level of skill is probably earned by one of our own. In the arena, players could challenge their opponents by name. Some teams would choose to increase their win rate by having their own members fight against their own members in order to increase their reputation. Of course, this method could not be used to earn points. The system did not allow anyone to take advantage of loopholes. Within a set number of matches, once the win rate reached 50%, the points would no longer increase. In this way, the teams that were farming for win rate would only increase the win rate. In fact, the real benefits of points would not be gained. However, having a high win rate was not a good thing. It was like playing LOL. If a bronze dog found someone to level it up to king, it would only take a few days before it would be beaten to the point that it would never dare to play again. Moreover, there were real benefits of points in Rebirth. If the win rate was too high, it would only mean that it would be abused by the experts. It was clear that ambition over ability was not a good thing. After the warrior left, a few more people were teleported out one after another. Without exception, their faces were full of disdain, and they left while cursing, as if they had been cheated of millions of dollars. After a few minutes, 7 blueberries and Asuka Musashi were teleported out. Behind them were 2 players, a cleric and a shield warrior. Wanyu had seen the cleric before. His name was Rolling Mario, and he was a very cunning fellow. As for the shield warrior, Wanyu did not recognize him. 7 blueberries and the other 3 wore dejected looks on their faces. However, Mario and the shield warrior didn't flick their sleeves and leave like the others. Wanyu couldn't help but look at the 2 of them in a higher light. Haha, blueberry sis, you lost. Wanyu walked over to greet 7 blueberries. Damn you, how can you say that? Hearing this, the shield warrior immediately flared up. No one would feel good about losing a match. Even if Wanyu didn't have any malicious intentions, his words still stung the shield warrior's ears. Nyogo. Asuka Musashi immediately raised his head in surprise when he heard Wanyu's voice. You're here. You guys know each other? The shield warrior asked in astonishment. Asuka Musashi said excitedly, Yes, this is the friend I was talking about. He's very powerful. The shield warrior sized up Wanyu and asked suspiciously, Grandmaster Combat, I'm Iron Ox. Wanyu extended his hand in a friendly manner. Iron Ox. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, was stunned when he heard Iron Ox's words and subconsciously took 2 steps back. Previously, when Mario led his men to surround Wanyu, Wanyu was wearing a mask. Therefore, it was Mario's first time seeing Wanyu's appearance. What's wrong? Do you know him too? The shield warrior and Asuka Musashi looked at Mario curiously. Nonsense. Don't you guys go on the forums? Mario asked. I don't have the time. The 2's reply was extremely strong, causing Mario to roll his eyes. This Master Neo is the #1 reincarnated expert. Mario pointed at Wanyu and said, You too. They couldn't even recognize a real god standing right in front of them. To think that these guys had played until level 20. Are all new players this stupid? #1 expert, Asuka Musashi exclaimed. No wonder Nyoga is so fierce. No wonder. No wonder. As he spoke, Asuka Musashi rushed in front of Wanyu and pulled Wangyu's arm with a face full of admiration. Nyoga, why didn't you tell me earlier? Wanyu sweated profusely. Wasn't it too arrogant to say that he was the #1 expert? It's just an empty title. Wanyu said humbly. #1 expert? Is he for real? The shield warrior mumbled softly, his tone full of doubt. Now that everyone's levels were so low, levels did not represent much strength. Skill and equipment were the most important. If Wanyu was an assassin, saying that he was the #1 expert was understandable. However, he was just a weak grandmaster of combat. Wasn't that nonsense? He's definitely the #1 expert. Mario swore. In the past, his thoughts were exactly the same as the shield warrior. Ever since he fought with Wanyu, he no longer dared to have any doubts. Meow, a guy who could float away under the siege of so many people. If this kind of person wasn't the #1 expert, then Rolling Mario wouldn't believe it. What exactly is going on? Wanyu had already walked to the side of 7 blueberries and asked curiously. 7 blueberries was not the kind of person who was greedy for fame. She was usually taciturn. As the team leader, she did not even dare to speak loudly when commanding a battle. Now that she had suddenly put down her pride and asked for Wanyu's help, there must be something that she could not say. Wanyu was not an idiot. He could naturally tell that something was wrong. I. 7 blueberries was timid and did not like to speak. When she heard Wanyu's hurried tone, she was so scared that she could not speak properly. You 3 were being watched. Asuka Musashi said. What do you mean by being watched? Wanyu asked, scratching his head. This was an arena, not a leveling area. Why would they be watched? Asuka Musashi said. I don't know what's going on either. Since this morning, there have been many teams challenging us. With such a high win rate, it's normal to be challenged by experts, Wanyu said. I don't know where those teams came from, but they took turns to challenge us. We've been tortured for the whole morning. Asuka Musashi said with a sad face. Wanyu was stunned for a moment. It's pretty bad. Why don't you just leave the arena? Those teams seem to have come prepared. Their list is full, and it's too late to reject them. Wanyu did not say that it would be good for them to leave, but it made Asuka Musashi even more sullen. In the arena, winning and losing were common occurrences. It was common for players to lose for an entire day if things went wrong. Under such circumstances, players would choose to leave the arena and try their luck on something else. However, it was different when they were challenged. If they rejected the challenge, they would lose points. If there were other teams on the challenge list, not only would they lose all their points, but they would also be banned from the arena for a few days due to violating the spirit of competition. If they won too many challenges, they would not gain points. However, if they lost, their points would still be reduced. They could only leave the arena when their points reached 0. Chapter 368. I see. Wanyu asked thoughtfully. Beware of little hands and the others? Beware of little hands and the others who often join the team. After losing a few matches, they knew that they were being targeted, so they ran away. Flying Bird Musashi's tone did not sound like he was complaining. Anyone with a discerning eye would know what was going on in such a situation. They had only met each other by chance, and it was not like they had been through life and death together. No one would throw away all their points for no reason. If the team leader was not 7 blueberries, Flying Bird Musashi would have run away long ago. Oh, it can't start even if we don't have enough people, right? Wanyu asked. Flying Bird Musashi explained. If we don't have enough people, we can't initiate a challenge. However, if we can join the challenge list, it means that the game has already started. If our teammates quit, it will be considered as escaping. The other side is still kind. They even gave you time to form teammates. Wanyu chuckled. Flying Bird Musashi was speechless. This guy really does not know how to chat. What do you mean by giving me time to form teammates? I'm the one who always drags on until the system forces me to enter. Why aren't you two running? Wanyu turned around and asked Mario, who was rolling on the ground. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, said respectfully, I was just about to run. Didn't I see you? Not bad. You really know how to talk. Wanyu was very pleased with Mario's flattery. He smiled and praised Mario, who was rolling on the ground. He then said to Asuya Musashi, All right, let's go. I'll go and see who is so bored. Challenging people by name did not add any points. It was indeed quite boring to spend the whole morning bullying a bunch of rookies. Are we going to start with just the 5 of us? The shield bearer called Talking Elbow was surprised. The other side is a very strong team. Regardless of Talking Elbow's skill level, the difference between an expert and a novice was still obvious. The teams on the other side did not reveal much of their strength, but their teamwork was exquisite, advancing and retreating in an orderly manner. They were able to casually disintegrate the teams on their side. From this, it could be seen that the teams on the other side were definitely not as simple as a normal team. Even 10 people were beaten to the point of vomiting blood. Wouldn't 5 people be seeking death? No matter how strong the world's #1 player was, it was impossible to completely wipe out the other side. Oh, then let's just form a few, Wanyu said indifferently. This was Wangyu's personality. He didn't have a temper and was willing to listen to anyone's opinion. Asuka Musashi said, Forget it, we won't be able to anger anyone in such a short time. Let's just do it. In the beginning, the Blueberry Battle Team could still rely on their high win rate to attract some passersby. But after so many matches, the Blueberry Battle Team's reputation had long since gone down the drain. They had become the spokesperson of the battle results. Who would dare to join them? But 7 Blueberries was a girl who didn't like to talk, but she was very obedient. The Talking Joe wanted to say something, but 7 Blueberries had already started. The Talking Joe was helpless, but seeing that 7 Blueberries was a girl, he could only bear with it. Anyway, even if he lost, he would only lose some points. He wouldn't have to play with them in the next round. There was no need to provoke the world's #1 expert. Although Joe, who knew how to talk, thought that the world's #1 expert was a little overpowered, a broken grandmaster of combat, that could level up to such a high level was obviously not easy to deal with. On the other side, Blood Red War Flag saw that Blueberry team had lost another match and felt disdainful. As expected of a F*** skill, and an ignorant one at that. Most teams, no matter how hard they tried, would only be able to raise their record to around 60 or 70, which was already very impressive. But Blueberry Battle Team was able to raise their record to 100, which was simply a miracle. Other than noob teams, no one would do such a thing. Who wouldn't be able to tell that Blueberry Battle Team was a genius? Then are we still fighting? Blood Red War Flag asked. Blood Red War Flag said, "Of course we'll fight. Let these arrogant people know our limits. Don't think that everything can be faked. There's no need to waste time on these people." Just now, the Great Wall said that the Sunset Temple battle report has been received. Why don't we go and attack the instance dungeon? Blood Red War Flag advised. Blood Red War Flag hesitated and nodded. Yes, you're right. All right, let's let these people go for now. There are other teams that will teach them a lesson. Having said that, Blood Red War Flag opened the challenge list and prepared to withdraw from the challenge. At that moment, a system notification appeared. Your opponent, Blueberry Battle Team, is ready. Do you wish to challenge them? Oh, Blood Red War Flag was stunned. They had already decided to let them go, but they still dared to challenge them? What's wrong? Blood Red War Flag asked. Blueberry Battle Team is ready. Blood Red War Flag said, then let's fight. A few more minutes won't matter. Yes. Blood Red War Flag nodded and clicked start. Over at World Domination's side, Xiaoyao looked at the morning's battle report and laughed coldly. I thought that some super expert had appeared on the server. So it's just a skill. What a waste of our time. I've already gotten this 100-win raid a long time ago. Hidden Dragon Zhuge Liang said proudly. Who's in the next match? Xiaoyao ignored Hidden Dragon Zhuge Liang and changed the topic. I think it's Blood Alliance. Blood Red War Flag is really high profile. They actually brought people from Blood Alliance. Hidden Dragon was really impressed by Blood Red War Flag's attitude. Blood Red War Flag rolled up their sleeves. Bullying newbies wasn't something to be proud of. The other guilds all came in secret, but Blood Red Alliance actually did it out in the open. Blood Red War Flag truly lived up to its name. Hee, Blood Red War Flag is an idiot. Blueberry Battle Team is a skill. Is fighting a skill bullying a newcomer? This old guy is really smart. Hidden Dragon Zhuge thought for a moment. Is that so? I can't tell, Nasabi. In the arena, Blueberry Battle Team and Blood Red War Flag's Blood Flag Vanguard had entered the battlefield. As experts, Blood Alliance always looked down on their enemies in terms of strategy and paid attention to them in terms of tactics. Especially after Yu Huicheng had suffered a few times, Blood Alliance had always been cautious. Even if they were facing a group of trash, they didn't dare to underestimate them. So as soon as they entered the map, they opened the battle interface. D***M, there are only 5 people on the other side. Blood Red Shura saw that the number of people on the other side's interface was reduced by half. He was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. Meow. They knew that the opponent was from Blood Alliance, but they only sent out 5 people. This was blatant disdain. Let's just go over and crush them. Blood Red Shura said angrily. The other side was a bunch of noobs, and they wanted to fight 5 against 10. If they didn't crush them, they would be letting down their good intentions. Chapter 369. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. So before a battle, it was a common habit for players to look at the opponent's team composition and level. Blueberry Team had a total of 5 people, and their class levels could be seen at a glance. When they saw the last level 28 Grandmaster of Combat, the hearts of the Blood Alliance members jumped. D***MN, it can't be. This bastard just finished a dungeon, and he's coming to the arena? There were only a few level 28 experts in the entire server, and there was only 1 Grandmaster of Combat. That guy was a nightmare in the eyes of the Blood Alliance players. Was there really such a coincidence? Thinking about this, Blood Red War flag, and the others hurriedly opened the information of the level 28 Grandmaster of Combat. Iron Ox was the first thing they saw. *MN. Blood Red War flag collapsed on the spot. Why is he everywhere? Are we still going to fight? Everyone asked. Blood Red War flag stared. Fight what? Are we looking for trouble? That's good, that's good. Everyone was relieved. After the Blueberry team entered the game, Flying Bird Musashi and the others panicked when they saw the opponent's team composition and the 10 eyes with the prefix of blood. Not good, they're from the Blood Alliance. Flying Bird Musashi said anxiously. It's over, this is going to be bad. Zhou, who could speak, looked at the opponent's information, and his face was filled with fear. The Blood Alliance was a big business guild. Their owner, the Blood Club, was one of the leaders in the circle. Their Blood team was one of the top 8 teams in the country. Someone with the prefix of Blood Alliance was definitely an expert. Even their second-rate team was not someone normal players could deal with. Although Wang Yu usually crushed ordinary players like chopping vegetables, Flying Bird Musashi wasn't confident that he could go up against a professional battle team like this. Rolling Mario laughed. Blood Alliance. Nyogo isn't afraid of them, right? Rolling Mario was from Yuhui City. Everyone in Yuhui City knew that the Quanjun sect was the nemesis of the Blood Alliance. This was especially true for Wang Yu. Back then, the story of how he single-handedly challenged hundreds of people from the Blood Alliance on the streets was still being spread to this day. In the past, Rolling Mario wouldn't have believed such a rumor, but now, it was a little ambiguous. Wang Yu smiled. It's okay. They'll surrender with me. Zhou, who could speak, was stunned when he heard Wang Yu's arrogant tone. His opponent was one of the top teams in the country. Surrendering as soon as they saw him? That was way too pretentious. Even Asuka Musashi, who had absolute confidence in Wang Yu's strength, revealed an expression of disbelief. Brother Nyo, don't joke around. Let's discuss how to deal with them. How about we lure them away and let you defeat them one by one? From his words, it could be seen that Asuka Musashi had faith in Wang Yu's abilities. At the very least, in his heart, Wang Yu's abilities were stronger than a professional team like Bloody Battle Team. Wang Yu shook her head and said, There's no need. Let's just sit here. They will leave very soon. GG, as expected. As soon as Wang Yu finished speaking, 2 letters appeared in the Everyone channel, and then the 10 players on the other side retreated from the battlefield. Zhou and Asuka Musashi were dumbfounded. Really? I'm not dreaming, am I? Wang Yu said, I told you they would surrender. Bird Elbow Duo. Although the people from the Blood Alliance had retreated, the 2 of them still didn't believe that it was because of Wang Yu's presence. There had to be something else. After all, subduing the enemy without fighting was built on the basis that one party was too strong to handle. This was especially true in the game, where reputation was more valuable than one's life. When both sides competed, as long as there was a way, they would fight to the death. No one would admit defeat. Right now, there were 10 pro players on the other side. It was impossible for them to admit defeat just because of one person on their side. As soon as the 5 of them were sent out of the battlefield, Wang Yu received a message from Blood Red War Flag. Boss Iron Ox, why did you come to the arena today? I've been doing it for a few days. Wang Yu answered honestly. Join our team. Blood Red War Flag invited him sincerely. Wang Yu declined politely. No thanks, boss. I'm in the fixed team. Fixed team? Blood Red War Flag was shocked. What's wrong? No, nothing. Boss Iron Ox, please continue playing. We'll be leaving first. Okay. Wang Yu replied and closed the chat. What do you think? Boss Iron Ox, do you want to join our team? Seeing that Blood Red War Flag had sent a message, Wind Whisper and the others asked. If they really managed to rope in such a killer weapon, Blood Red War Flag had a chance of winning the championship this season. Blood Red War Flag was depressed. That psycho said he's a fixed member of Blueberry Team. A fixed member of Blueberry Team. No wonder this lousy team has such a good record. Hearing this, Wind Whisper immediately understood. As mentioned before, as long as one wasn't an idiot, they wouldn't raise their win rate to 100%. Therefore, Bloody Wind Whisper had been wondering how low the IQ of the Blueberry Team's captain was to do such a thing. Now that he heard that Wang Yu was a fixed member of Blueberry Team, all his doubts were answered. Wang Yu was a freak who could take on dozens of people at once. How could he have a 100% loss record in a mere 10-man battle? There was no exaggeration at all. Of course, this was not the result of the Blueberry Battle Team, but Wang Yu's personal result. Forget it. Let's not dwell on this. Let's retreat, Blood Red War Flag said as they led their team out of the arena. In World Domination's office, Xiaoyao spat out a mouthful of wine when he saw the report of Blueberry Team against Blood Flag Vanguard. What? Blood Red War Flag was defeated. Xiaoyao was shocked. Hidden Dragon nodded. Yes, they came out in less than 5 minutes. It can't be. Blood Flag Vanguard is a top 50 team, but they were defeated by a bunch of scammers. What is Blood Red War Flag doing? Hidden Dragon said with disdain. I told you. He's just an idiot. No, I don't know what he's up to. I'll ask him. Guild leaders of well-known guilds like these all had friends. Xiaoyao opened his friends list and found Blood Red War Flag. He sent a message over, Old Flag. I heard that you guys were wiped out by a bunch of scammers. Scram. Blood Red War Flag had Xiaoyao as a friend, but the two didn't have a good relationship. World Domination and Blood Alliance didn't have a good relationship. Hey, don't vent your anger on me. Tell me, how did you lose your dignity? Xiaoyao's gossipy nature was ignited. What do you know? Blood Red War Flag replied and didn't say anything else. Xiaoyao looked at the what do you know and sighed. This old man, I really can't see through him. Chapter 370. Did you get anything? Hidden Dragon asked curiously. No. Xiaoyao shook his head. I told you he's an idiot. Hidden Dragon continued to look down on Blood Red War Flag. Xiaoyao said, No, it's because we couldn't get anything out of him. That proves that he's hiding his strength. No way, boss. You're too shameless. It's normal that you couldn't get anything out of him, Hidden Dragon shouted. Xiaoyao blushed and quickly changed the topic. When will it be Qing Ming's turn? He's next. All right, let them record. Recording videos was one of the functions of the arena. It was a supplementary function that allowed players to study their opponent's techniques. However, there weren't many players who actually studied their opponents. Most of the time, they just took their own highlights to satisfy their own desire to show off. As one of the top professional teams, Xiaoyao asked his subordinates to record it to prove that he was serious about Blueberry Team. However, Qing Ming, the leader of Quan Yution's husband and wife team, interpreted it differently. They're just a bunch of trash, and they want us to record it? Does boss want to humiliate them on the forum? Not bad. This is a good way to deal with scammers. On Blueberry Team's side, the members immediately received a system notification. Husband and wife team has issued a challenge to your team. Husband and wife team, that's an interesting name. Wang Yu rubbed his chin and commented on the name of the opposing team. Talking Shoulder said, though this team's name isn't much, their results are pretty good. Their win rate is as high as 65%. Oh, are they husband and wife? Wang Yu asked in a gossipy manner. Talking Shoulder was sweating profusely. I'm not sure about that. It was important to understand the opponent's results. It had nothing to do with whether they were husband and wife. After the battlefield was red, the 5 of them entered the arena map. Wang Yu, the gossipy guy, couldn't wait to open the team panel, trying to find some clues. Qing Ming, Weapon Grandmaster level 25 River Diagram. Elemental User level 25 Peasant. Assassin level 25 Noon. Holy Priest level 25. The team was well equipped with all professions. Other than the Grandmaster of Combat and the Knight, the team had all the other professions. After reading for a while, Wang Yu sighed and said, Oh, Qi Ming, Hichu, Peasant Noon. These names are quite poetic. A complete poem shouldn't be like this. Everyone was speechless. Originally, they thought that this guy was studying tricks, but it turned out that he was studying other people's names. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, wiped his sweat and said, No. Then why are they formed like this? Wang Yu was puzzled. Mario smiled and explained, along the river during the Qing Ming festival. Nyoga, you have to read it this way. Wang Yu was overjoyed. Wow, they really are husband and wife. Asaka Musashi slammed his head on the ground. These two people were too perverted. Nyogo, how are we going to fight this time? Asaka Musashi decided to pull Wang Yu's train of thought back to the present. There's no rush. Wang Yu waved his hand and turned to Mario, who was rolling on the ground. The verbs yellow river and ocean current don't match. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, muttered, "The yellow river flows into the ocean." The last couple is gay. D*MN, you must be making things up. Wang Yu was doubtful of Mario's explanation. If you don't believe me, let's make a bet. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, squinted his eyes like a fox. Wang Yu waved his hand and said, "Fine, your words and your perverted manner are very similar to a friend of mine. I won't bet with you. I'll just go over and take a look." Zhou, who could speak, was dumbfounded. You want to rush over directly? They were already outnumbered, and they still wanted to fight head-on. That was too reckless. What else? Wang Yu asked. TSK, as expected of Nyogo, so domineering. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, praised. D*MN, they're all crazy. Zhou, who could speak, shook his head and said, "I'll go to the middle road and be perverted. You guys can do whatever you want. Let's try to drag it out for 10 minutes. At least we won't lose so badly." Wang Yu shook his head. Dragging it out for 10 minutes might be a little difficult. It's not a problem if you hide well. There's a spot in the middle river. If you hide like this, you can guarantee that they won't find you within 5 minutes, Zhou, who could speak, said. Wang Yu said, "That's not necessary. I'll just go over and kill them. It'll be over in 5 minutes." Zhou, who could speak, went to the middle road without looking back. He decided to ignore Wang Yu no longer. "What about us? What should we do?" Asaka Musashi asked. "You guys just lie down." With that, Wang Yu went to the middle road and went straight to the root of the problem. On the side of the husband and wife team, Qing Ming and the others saw that the opposing blueberry team only had 5 members. Their disdain turned into anger. D*MN, this bunch of trash. They dare to fight us with just 5 members? Are they looking down on us? Qing Ming said angrily. Qing Ming's partner, he too, said, "Not necessarily. Perhaps they know that they will definitely lose, so they purposely sent 5 members. When they are ridiculed, they can say that it's 5 against 10. It's an honorable defeat." Qing Ming cursed. D*MN, as expected of the B*TCH who dares to earn 100 battle points. He even thought of such a shameless method. Peasants said, "We're going to record a video this time. 5 against 5 will do. I'll make sure that this bunch of trash loses wholeheartedly." Qing Ming thought for a while and said, "All right, he too, and I will go to the bottom lane. Yellow River and Hailu will go to the top lane. The middle lane will be left to Peasant. The rest of you don't have to move. Is that all right?" "No problem," Yellow River and Hailu said in unison. They were both guys. Peasant touched his dagger and said proudly, "Leave the middle lane to me. With me around, they won't stand a chance." "Okay, let's go." After giving the instructions, the 5 of them split into 3 groups and left separately. Peasant went stealthily and swaggered towards the position of the blueberry team. In Rebirth, the pros and cons of the various professions were obvious. However, the assassin was a unique profession. The assassin knew how to be stealthy. In an era without anti-stealth, even if the assassin was alone, the assassin would not be weak. If the assassin was of the same level, with proper maneuvering, he could easily annihilate a 5-member team. In Peasant's heart, the blueberry team would be the next to perish under his blade. Someone's here. When Peasant walked to the middle lane, he saw the figure. It's a grandmaster of combat. I'll use him as a sacrifice. Peasant snorted and sneaked over. Chapter 371. The Blueberry Battle Team was going all out. It was fine that they formed a team with only 5 members, but they even allowed the weakest member of the Blueberry Battle Team to roam around blindly. Were they in a panic? Peasant snuck in front of Wang Yu. A qualified assassin would attack from the back of the enemy, but Peasant chose to attack from the front. He was very confident in his abilities. Actually, it wasn't unreasonable. Although the husband and wife team was a second-string backup for the professional teams of the big guilds, once the team had the word professional on it, they were definitely experts among experts. Against a fake noob team, there was no need to ambush them from behind. Peasant knew that the level of the Grandmaster of Combat was not low. So what? Even if the level of the Grandmaster of Combat was high, if the assassin had the upper hand, he would be defeated. Where are the Yellow River and the ocean current? Peasant raised his dagger and walked in front of Wang Yu. Then, he heard Wang Yu say something strange to him. Peasant was shocked. Could he see me? Peasant quickly checked his status. Peasant, who was in stealth, was relieved. So the lousy Grandmaster of Combat was talking to himself. That gave him a fright. Forget it. He would kill him quickly before looking for the next one. Peasant picked up his dagger and stabbed at Wang Yu's chest. As Peasant's dagger was about to stab into Wang Yu extended his right hand and grabbed Peasant's wrist. Peasant's hand that was holding the dagger dropped to the ground. Wang Yu let go of Peasant and picked up the dagger. Then, he placed the dagger on Peasant's throat. Wang Yu's actions, from grabbing Peasant's wrist to placing the dagger on Peasant's neck, took less than 2 seconds. Peasant's neck was pressed against his own dagger, and he was dumbfounded. What's going on? The script isn't supposed to be like this. He's going to die. Peasant was terrified. It was as though he saw a docile rabbit devouring a big bad wolf. I'm asking you a question. Where are the Yellow River and Hailu? Wang Yu asked Peasant. I don't know. Peasant wanted to reply, but he realized that Sherlock was an enemy, so he changed his words. Using one's life to threaten one's friend in the game would not work. After all, life was worthless in the game. Life and death were common for players. Betraying a friend for 10 EXP wasn't just a matter of morality. Oh, I understand. Wang Yu didn't intend to ask. He nodded and was about to stab Peasant to death. Wait, Peasant shouted again. What? Do you want to tell me? Wang Yu asked in surprise. Can you return my dagger? I can pay for it, Peasant said with a pained expression. The dagger that Wang Yu snatched from Peasant was a level 20 silver equipment. It was a superior weapon with a critical strike effect. Peasant wouldn't normally ask an enemy to buy his equipment. However, the dagger was very important to Peasant, so he had to ask. Wang Yu was puzzled. He looked at the dagger in his hand and handed it to Peasant. At the same time, he killed Peasant with a palm strike. Peasant, who was teleported out of the map, was bewildered. The person who killed him was the legendary Iron Ox. Peasant couldn't believe that his precious dagger was returned to him. How much is this lousy item worth? Wang Yu said something that made everyone vomit blood. This kid had seen many superior equipment, but he didn't even care about silver equipment. Though the instance dungeon was opened and the equipment had a fixed production area, silver equipment was still the mainstream of high-end gamers. Even though the boss in the Hell Instance dungeon didn't drop gold and dark gold equipment, to normal gamers, gold and dark gold equipment was a legendary item. Did everyone have the ability to challenge the Hell Instance dungeon? Moreover, only the first kill of the Hell Instance dungeon had rich rewards. Talking Joe had just reached the top lane and found a place to hide when he received news that Wang Yu had killed Peasant. He was shocked and thought, to be able to kill the opposing assassin alone, this level 28 Grandmaster of Combat has some skills. After receiving news of Peasant's death, the husband and wife team was in a mess. Gosh, Peasant, what happened to you? How'd you get killed? Noon was unhappy with his useless partner. Didn't you see the Grandmaster of Combat's ID? Peasant said gloomily. The ID, Iron Ox, had been in everyone's ears since the start of the game. Due to various rumors, he was known as the top gamer in the country. Though most of the high-end gamers scoffed at the title of the top gamer in the country, he was able to remain standing despite his reputation. Was it shameful to be defeated by such a person? The Iron Ox husband and wife team noticed the Grandmaster of Combat who killed Peasant. Noon said, so what if he's Iron Ox? You're an assassin, and he's a Grandmaster of Combat. The difference in professions is huge, and you were killed. I feel ashamed for you. Whatever you say. Anyway, that Grandmaster of Combat is very strange. Everyone, be careful. As a professional gamer, Peasant knew the difference between an assassin and a grandmaster of combat. He knew that no matter what he said, his teammates wouldn't listen. Hence, he pretended to be dead. Noon said angrily, "Humph, I don't believe that a grandmaster of combat can be that strong. If I see him, I'll turn Iron Ox into a dead cow." "You forget it." Everyone shook their heads. If other professions said that they would kill a grandmaster of combat, they might believe it. However, a cleric with no attack power dared to say such a thing. Did he think that a combat profession was worthless? "Why are you looking down on me?" Noon saw that his teammates didn't believe him, so he shouted, "Don't move. I'll kill Iron Ox alone." "Who wants to kill me?" Noon had just finished speaking when a large man appeared at the corner of the building in the middle road. He looked at the husband and wife team and asked curiously, "Who else could it be but Wang Yu?" The *MN, "Who are you?" Seeing Wang Yu, the group of people standing in line immediately jumped up from the ground in alarm and got into a fighting stance. "I'm Iron Ox. Where's Yellow River and Hailu?" Wang Yu asked. "Iron Ox." Everyone was shocked and took a step back. Then they looked around. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.